Chapter 11 Obsession. And the Perfect Maid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Violet suddenly jumps on top of me. I quickly caught her in my arms, she wraps her legs around my waist, and I hold her by her soft ass. I look up a little bit and stare into her blood-red eyes. Darling. 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 She looked like she was going crazy. She had a huge smile on her face. The skin on her cheeks was a little red and she was breathing erratically as she hugged me. Feeling the bloodlust that is emanating from Violet's body, I too start to loosen the shackles that keep me under control. My teeth start to shift and a predatory smile appears on my face. Seeing my smile and realizing that I was accepting her advances, Violet's smile grows erratically. Slowly her teeth start to change into sharp fangs, but she doesn't attack me right away. She starts sniffing me, and breathing erratically as if out of breath. She brings her face close to my neck, starts licking my neck with her tongue and, when my neck is wet enough, she opens her mouth and then bites me. Ugh. I feel my blood being drained. I also feel an unnatural surge of pleasure enter my body. This feeling was very addictive. I push Violet into the wall. I hear the sound of the wall cracking, but I don't care. I also open my mouth, and soon I bite her neck too. Ah. She stops sucking my blood and moans sensually as remnants of my blood that she sucked and didn't have time to swallow start to fall from her sharp fangs. I feel my shirt being smeared with the blood but I don't care. I feel something wake up, and it was like a vampire who can't see the sunlight opening the lid of his coffin. It also feels like he was rubbing on Violet's coffin, wanting to wake her up from her sleep for them to have fun tonight. Wonderful. Violet starts licking my neck again as her coffin starts to shake as the vampire wakes up. Unfortunately, I couldn't directly feel the real deal, but that's a problem that can be solved easily. When I was going to rip my clothes off with my right arm, I sensed a horrible stench coming from an area near my house. It was like someone opening the sewer in my street. Violet seems to smell it too, and I see all the bloodlust and her excitement has faded and been replaced by annoyance. I get annoyed too. That would be an understatement to say how upset I was. My feeling now was like I was about to eat a delicious meal with my wife, but suddenly the sewer in the street broke, and the place we were eating stank with a terrible odor. I stop sucking her blood and look up using my vampire vision. I see two silhouettes at a considerable distance from my house. I see two men together. They were both human, but just like June, they had an aura covering them as if it was protecting them. But, unlike June whose aura was blue, these individuals' auras were golden, and I was smelling a horrible stench coming from them. Hearing someone's teeth grind, I look over at Violet and see that she has a rather startling expression on her face. Her face was distorted in anger. She was completely pissed off. Those fuckers. They just had to come and interrupt my moment with my husband, those motherfuckers. They just can't sit in their church and be quiet while they play with the kids they love so much. Those mangy dogs. Pieces of shit. That I just opened my eyes in surprise as I saw Violet's face distort into various expressions of disgust and anger as she spoke words that would make the most experienced sailors proud. I bring my face closer to Violet's neck and start licking the blood off her neck. Upon feeling me lick her neck, she stops insulting the people I assume are from the Inquisition and moans a little. Ah, I feel her gaze on my neck and she soon starts licking me too. As I licked her I said, calm down, and think clearly. I sincerely doubt these agents are here looking for us. Ah. She moans again, this time a little louder, and while breathing a little harder, she says, the agents of the Inquisition. Ugh. She bites her lip a little and wraps her legs tighter around my waist. I start to lightly pat her ass while licking her neck and blowing a little in her ears. Wait. Ah. I can't form a coherent train of thought while I feel like liquids have started to leak from her sacred coffin, and wet the shorts she was wearing. Darling, ugh, wait. She spoke the last word in a strong tone. I stop my caresses and look at her face, which was a flushed mess. Her breathing was erratic, and she was looking at me with desire burning in her eyes. Are you calmer? I spoke while trying to ignore my impulses. Yes. She replied as she tried to catch her breath. You can find the rest of this content on the WuxiaX.com platform. She pushes me away from her and claps her hands in a let me down gesture. I nod my head and let go, then I too step away from her and look at the visitors. Cough. Cough. She coughed a few times, and soon she had a noble look again. that look would be more convincing if her shorts weren't wet and her face wasn't a flushed mess. What was I really talking about? She asked out loud with a confused face. I can't help but laugh a little when I see the face she was making. What? She said, looking at me while pouting. I was thinking how adorable my wife is. Hearing what I said, I could see her pale skin starting to turn a healthy red. She made a hump sound and turned her face away while she had a happy smile. She is so adorable, my God. How can such a lovely creature exist? Before my wife and I fell into our pink world again, I said, the Inquisition. That she looks at me confused. The Inquisition? What about them? That I just look at her with an expressionless face. Don't tell me she already forgot. I look up and see they're walking like they're looking for something. One of them is also holding something in his hands that I don't know what it is. At least they've stopped stinking a little bit. Oh, those bastards, huh? She spoke when she sniffed the air and smelled the stench. Her face grimaced with disgust, and then she continued. The Inquisition agents are probably patrolling. They have a device capable of tracking vampires. This device is useless when they are hunting noble vampires, but for hunting common vampires without support, this device is very useful. Why is this device useless for the nobles? I asked, curious. Noble vampires are the only vampires who can pay witches to do countermeasures for this type of technology. She spoke, and then she continued, of course there are exceptions. There are ordinary vampires who have been transformed and have a lot of accumulated wealth. After all, this is the United States, the country of capitalism. There are several plebeian vampires with a lot of money here. These agents who are patrolling must be recruits, since an experienced agent has his own means of investigating the presence of a vampire in the region. Just out of curiosity, how much does this countermeasure cost? I asked, curious. Depending on the witch you contact, the value could reach $5 billion. That I open my eyes in shock. Isn't this too inflated? That's what happens when a product is monopolized. Witches are the only ones who have this technology. They can put whatever price they want on it. That's why noble vampires always invest in maintaining friendly relations with witches. Violet said as she walked to one of the bedrooms, I'm going to change clothes. She straightens her hair that was messed up, and then she started to take off the sweatshirt she was wearing and was just in a black bra. After that she started to take off the jean shorts she was wearing and was left with only black panties. I decided to follow her towards the bedroom. Of course, when I go towards the room, Kaguya appears from my shadow and holds my shoulders with her hand. What are you doing, Kaguya? I couldn't help but ask in a neutral tone. Lord Victor, please don't be a degenerate now. You have all eternity to feast on each other's lusts. You have all the time in the world to practice the act of reproduction. You might even decide to make 11 babies in the future to compete in the World Cup, but now is not the time for that. I feel my eyes twitch a little when I hear Kaguya's words. Can't this woman speak in a better way? And why the hell does she think I would make 11 babies just to play in the World Cup? Shouldn't vampires be hard to get pregnant or something? Please join me, Lord Victor, Kaguya said as she pointed to the room beside Violet. Updated from Wuxiax.com. I think for a few seconds about my decision. I know that Kaguya won't stop me again from entering Violet's room. I also know if I enter Violet's room now, and I see my wife as she came into the world, I'm going to get excited again, and start teasing my wife. On the one hand, I want to go into my wife's room right now, but this horrible stench that seems like the stench of a sewer lowers my spirits. TSK, first let's solve this little problem. I can't be horny now. I decide to follow Kaguya's suggestion and walk towards the room next to Violet. I enter the room and see that there is a change of new clothes on the bed. Lord Victor, do you want help changing? Kaguya asked while gesturing with her hand. She was looking at me with an expressionless face, but I could see her eyes shining. I swear I saw her doing an expression of, please accept, I'm a trustworthy maid. I'll be honest, I was a little curious how she was going to change my clothes, so, like a good adventurer, I said, of course, help me change my clothes. When I spoke those words, Kaguya's eyes changed to blood red, and I could see her eyes light up as if she was excited. Then she displayed a small satisfied smile. As expected from Lord Victor, Lady Violet has chosen a good husband. Before I can understand anything, she disappeared into shadows and passed through my body. I noticed that the clothes that were on the bed disappeared and, without me understanding anything that happened, Kaguya was standing in front of me again holding the clothes I was wearing. The clothes I was wearing were even folded. It all happened so fast I could barely understand what happened. I looked down at my chest and realized I was already dressed. This is impressive. I comment surprised. I was talking about her speed, and how she changed my clothes without me feeling her touch on my body. She holds her hand to her chest as a gesture of respect and speaks with an expressionless face, but I can tell she was proud. I am the strongest and most perfect maid, of course, this would be a natural result. Heh, I display a small smile, somehow I find her adorable. I approach her and start stroking her head. She lifts her expressionless face a little and looks at me. I could see her eyes light up a little. She looked excited. Lord Victor, please keep your hands off the maids. Within just one day, are you already cheating on your wife? But my smile threatens to break when I hear what Kaguya says. Is it not the maid's duty to serve her master? I spoke with a small smile. So, you are abusing your authority. She spoke with the same expressionless face. I understand, as it's the master's order, I can't do anything. After all, the master's orders are absolute and, as I am a perfect maid and the eldest of my sisters, I must be the one to sacrifice myself so that you don't lay your hands on the younger maids. She spoke as if she were making a great sacrifice. This maid, she's read a lot of erotic books. I stop stroking her head and tug at both her plump cheeks. Lord Victor, I'm not a masochist, I don't like pain, please stop. Stop your delusions, maid. I let go of her cheek. When she lowered her head and touched her cheeks which I pulled, I stroked her head lightly and said. Good job Kaguya, I said gratefully, I really liked this maid's personality. I feel Kaguya tremble a little when I said those words. I think she didn't like what I said. I look down, but I just see Kaguya's black hair. I stopped petting Kaguya and left the room. As I walked towards the stairs that lead to my house, I decided to wait for Violet upstairs. After all, I just heard my parents' voices. I think they came home. When Victor left the room, Violet, who was wearing a different outfit, appeared in the room Victor was in and looked at Kaguya, who had a shocked expression. Kaguya. Violet speaks. Kaguya awakens from stupor and assumes a blank expression. Yes, Lady Violet. Violet's eyes changed to blood red and she spoke in an emotionless tone. He's mine. He's only mine. She spoke in an obsessive tone. I know, Lady Violet, I was just surprised. It won't happen again. Good. Violet's eyes return to their normal color and she smiles contentedly. Violet turns and starts walking towards the stairs. Lady Violet. Kaguya calls out, updated from wuxiax.com. Violet stops walking. What do you intend to do about Lady Sasha and Lady Ruby? Violet heard Kaguya say. Violet's body starts to shake. She clenches her fists tightly and the air around Violet starts to heat up. If a normal human saw Violet's face at this point, they would just run away in fear. Her face was distorted in anger, her eyes were glowing with a dangerous glint, and all her sharp teeth were showing. She didn't look like a noblewoman, she looked like a monster that was hateful enough to burn the world. Realizing that Violet was losing control again, Kaguya takes a small green ball from her pocket and breaks it. Then she spoke in a neutral tone. June. I know. I know. June, who was wearing a green bikini, appears in a magic circle and, with a snap of her fingers, she insulated the entire basement she created with a sound isolation barrier. She made sure that any sound could not be heard outside the door or on the surface. She also reinforces the walls with her magic power. No longer able to take the feeling she was holding, Violet punches the wall. Those bitches. Boom. The wall breaks in the shape of a spider's web. She has an absurd strength as always, and it looks like she's stronger. June spoke in a calm tone as if this happened often, but she was a little surprised that Violet was getting stronger. He is just mine. Just mine. I will not allow any woman near him. I will kill those whores. A bloody pressure began to spread throughout the basement. Realizing that Violet was raging uncontrollably and not returning to normal, Kaguya says. Lady Violet. The two women are your childhood friends. Hearing Kagaya's words, the atmosphere around Violet weakened considerably, but the sense of danger was still present. Violet clenches her fists tightly, and bites her lip in frustration. It's like she's having an internal battle, but soon her obsession with Victor seems to win. Violet spoke in a tone devoid of emotions. I know, that's why I don't want Victor to meet them. I don't want to have to kill my friends from childhood. Soon she began to control her powers and the atmosphere returned to normal as if nothing had happened. June makes a gesture with her hands and soon the barrier she put in place disappears. As always, the same amount of money in the same bank account. I'll charge a little more also for the teleportation tools. These things aren't cheap, and please don't call me suddenly. I was in Hawaii enjoying the beach, you know. TSK, see ya. She spoke as she threw 3 more green balls to Kagaya, who took them and put them in her pocket. From beginning to end, Kagaya just looked at June like she was looking at a piece of trash, but in the end, she nodded her head in agreement with June's requests. The witch's services were cheaper compared to other witches who she knew, so spending a little money to prevent Violet from screwing it up is a small price to pay in Kagaya's view. Natalia the blonde maid appears from a hidden door. She came here through the secret passages June made in the basement. She was just having tea in one of the hidden rooms in this basement, but she decided to come here when she saw the noise Violet was making. What do you intend to do? Natalia asked. Kagaya sighed and said. As the perfect maid, I cannot let Lady Violet make a mistake that she will regret in the future. After all, the maid must always want the best for her master. She spoke in a neutral tone, then she continued. Lady Violet is not taking the whole situation calmly. Her obsession with Victor is clouding her judgment. The ritual is absolute. All 3 women must join Lord Victor, because if they don't Lord Victor may fall into a deep sleep, and the 2 women could also join him. If that happens, Lady Violet will go mad. Kagaya can't help but think inwardly. Sigh, this whole situation is complicated, especially considering this has never happened before. Natalia spoke in a neutral tone with a small sigh. Kagaya nods, and soon she makes a decision. I'll get in touch with Lady Ruby and Lady Sasha. New novel chapters are published on WeaktoStrong. Natalia the blonde maid who was wearing a French maid uniform said, be careful with the church dogs when you go out. Kagaya nods and disappears into the darkness. Chapter 12 A Hardworking Maid. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. On the rooftop of a 20-story building was a maid with short black hair looking in the direction of a particular university. The university she was looking at was the same university Victor attended. Despite being several kilometers away, Kagaya could see the college as if it were very close. As she watched college, Kagaya began to think about what had happened in the past 2 days. Kagaya wouldn't lie to herself. She was a little surprised at Violet's new husband. At first, I thought he would run away when he saw my master's psychotic attitude, Kagaya commented to herself. After all, she knew Violet's personality well. Kagaya was a new vampire by vampire standards. She was only 210 years old. Since she became self-aware she has always been trained to be the personal servant of the Snow Clan leader or heir. Kagaya is part of Clan Blank, a subsidiary family of Clan Snow. The 2 families have a blood bond that cannot be broken because Clan Blank's ancestor was one of the main members of Clan Snow who fell in love with a Japanese noble vampire. That is a story that happened over 1,000 years in the past. It is because of this ancestor that Clan Blank has some Japanese characteristics. Kagaya herself is a perfect example. Kagaya did not inherit the Snow Clan's flames, but she did inherit Snow Clan's immunity to the sun, and because of that immunity, Kagaya had to serve Clan Snow. Normally, it shouldn't be like that. After all, Kagaya's ancestor was part of Clan Snow's main house, and he married a noble Japanese vampire who could control the shadows. But, because of the untimely death of Kagaya's ancestor's wife, the descendants of the noble vampire were left without political support and, because of that, they were demoted to a subsidiary family that exists only to serve the Snow Clan. What about Kagaya's ancestor? He didn't care. The moment he found out his wife died, he disappeared and left his children in the care of Clan Snow. For Kagaya, this was really a tedious story, a story from a second-rate movie. Because of a vampire's decision, an entire bloodline was doomed to live eternally serving a clan. Nice job, huh? Kaguya thought aloud with a small smile on her face. Kaguya had always wanted to be the perfect maid since she was a little girl. In a way she was just doing it to be praised. It was like a child who was trying to get the attention of her parents, but her efforts were never recognized. When Victor said, "Good job," for a moment, she remembered her childhood. Just for a moment, she felt happy, but it's not all flowers. Reality soon hit her when Violet called out to her. Kaguya exhibited a small disdainful smile. I think, in the end, the stalker found a good man, maybe I should work a little harder. Kaguya had a secret of her own. At first, she didn't like Violet. Wrong, she didn't like the Snow Clan's heir. She didn't like to feel trapped by the duty that was placed on her from birth. She liked being a servant, but she didn't like to feel attached to someone. The perfect maid can freely choose the master she wants to serve. Unfortunately, I'm far from being the perfect maid. Kaguya spoke with a shrug as she made a bored gesture as if she had no choices, but soon she assumes her blank expression. But as Lady Violet's personal maid I can't let her make a mistake she'll regret in the future. After all, I can't be a perfect maid, but at least I am a hard-working one. She chuckled a little to herself, and soon she jumped in the opposite direction to the university that Victor studied. "You guys really went to buy?" "I thought you were kidding," I said, surprised and a little disbelieving what I was seeing in front of me. I was looking at my mom and dad who bought several boxes of fireworks. The latest episodes are on the WeaktoStrong website. "Why do you have that dead fish face?" she asked me, and then she still doesn't give me time to answer anything. "Oh, you always have that look on your face, I'm sorry. Anyway, we have to celebrate. You have no idea how much I wanted a daughter-in-law so I could cuddle and cuddle." My mother spoke with a smug face. "Why are you treating my wife like she's your daughter?" I can't help but comment internally. Suddenly my mother ran towards the kitchen, and started looking for someone. She looked like a child who acquired a new friend and wanted to play. When she saw Violet who was looking into the kitchen like she was looking at her archenemy, she ignored Violet's expression and hugged her. Violet makes a surprised expression, but soon she smiles softly and turned to look at my mom. "Lady Anna, what are you doing?" "Wrong, wrong. Wrong, wrong." She spoke the same word over and over while shaking her head. "You are my son's wife, so you must call me Mom." Violet looked shocked at my mother. Violet was a tall woman. She was 180 cm tall, compared to my mom who was 170 cm tall, so from my perspective seeing my mom hugging Violet was a bit comical. She looked more like a younger sister to Violet than my mother. "Mother." Violet spoke with a difficult expression. It was like a person who had never spoken those words before in her life. "Umu, Umu." My mom breaks away from Violet and nods with a satisfied expression. "That still wasn't enough, but I realize you're uncomfortable, so I won't force you into anything." "It's not that. It's just." Violet was going to say something, but she was silent. It seems she must have some family issues. "Shoo, don't worry, everyone on this planet has secrets, even my son and his wife." My mom spoke with a meaningful smile. Violet smiled a little with a grateful expression. "But anyway, why were you looking at the kitchen like it was your archenemy?" My mom asked curiously and, as always, she was brutally honest. Violet's expression takes on several shades of red. She ducks her head in embarrassment and pouts. I was never good in the kitchen, and I wanted to make Victor something to eat." Mom and I looked at Violet in shock. Suddenly my mom starts hugging Violet tighter. "Kaya. You are so beautiful, my God. My son hit jackpot." Violet's face is completely red and she looks to me for help, but I just shrug like it has nothing to do with me. She suddenly takes on an expression of someone who has been left to survive alone in the wild. "Sorry my wife, but I want you to be my sacrifice to my mother." And, looking at the small smile on Violet's face, I can see that she's not disliking my mom's attitude. She's just a woman who isn't honest with her feelings, although she's surprisingly honest when it comes to me. I decided. My mom suddenly stops hugging Violet and yells, then she continues, "I'm going to teach you how to cook." For more, visit WeaktoStrong. When I heard my mom's words I couldn't help but wonder about the doubt I had when I heard Violet was bad at cooking. Can vampires eat regular food? Really? Violet asked with bright eyes. Of course, let's go. Suddenly my mother pulls Violet by the arm and leads her into the kitchen. Soon the two women start talking. You found a good wife, my dad said as he was leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. I look at him, and see him smiling at me with a satisfied face. I display a small smile. You're wrong, Dad. My dad looks at me confused. I didn't find her, she found me, I said. Women these days are more honest with their feelings, huh? He spoke with a small smile, then he crouches down and tries to pick up the boxes full of fireworks. Leave it to me, Dad, I said as I walked over and placed all the boxes piled on my shoulder. In total they bought 3 boxes the size of a normal microwave. My father, seeing me putting all the boxes on my shoulder, couldn't help but smile at me satisfied. Now you can work as a bricklayer. You used to be very weak. Oof. I felt like someone had stabbed my heart with a stake. I look at my dad and think he's really going to ignore the changes in my body, huh? Or maybe he doesn't care. Anyway, I appreciate that he's not asking anything. As I carried the boxes into the living room, I asked my father, by the way, what took you so long? After all, it's already turned into night. I seem to speak loud enough for my mom to hear because she stops talking to Violet and looks at me. We wanted to give you guys privacy. After all, you guys are supposed to be horny with each other, right? Mother. I looked at her in shock. Woman, control your mouth. I know this is normal, you two are young, etc. My mom spoke in a bored tone like it was no big deal. Indeed, we enjoyed last night. Violet spoke with a smile on her face. She was saying that last night we sucked each other's blood, but that only increased the misunderstanding. My mom looks at Violet with shining eyes. Looks like I'm going to like you even more than I already do. I found a partner. Partner? Violet questions confused. Yes, do you know how difficult it is to be the only honest person in this house? My son is an antisocial man that if it weren't for my teachings, would have become a simp to some successful streamer. Follow current novels on wuxiax.com. Woman, why do you know these useless things? I thought as I placed the boxes in the room. Oh. Violet looks at me and I turn away, ignoring her. After all, there are some truths to my mom's words. I wouldn't become a simp because I didn't have money, and I wasn't foolish enough to believe that if I gave these streamers some money, I could get in their pants. Besides, I didn't even have time to think about it because I was worried about my health and, in the past, I looked like a thin undead. I doubt any woman would be interested in me. And my husband, well, he's my husband. She spoke in a flat tone. It was like she didn't have much to say about my father. Well, in general, my father is a good father. He never missed anything at home and he was always there when we needed him. Hey, woman. Don't dirty my image in front of my daughter-in-law. My father yelled. My mom just sticks her tongue out to my dad. Suddenly I smell the sewer stink again. Those agents must have returned. Honestly, I didn't have a problem with these agents. They were just doing their job, but, for some reason, they stank like a sewer and that annoyed me. I'm just annoyed by the fact that I was having a good, normal, conversation with my family and suddenly someone seems to have opened the sewer in the middle of our house. It was just an irritating feeling. Honey, should we get your things? I spoke out loud when I noticed Violet was starting to show her gentle face. I didn't want her to show this face to my parents. Although I think it's adorable, I don't know if my parents would like it, and that was a gamble I didn't want to make, and I'm self-conscious enough to realize that her face is scary for normal people, even though that expression is so adorable. Hearing my voice, Violet controls her expression and smiles gently. You're right, darling. That my mom makes a sad expression, eh? But we were having fun. She spoke while pouting. Don't worry. Mother. She paused and spoke the last word with a hard face. She clearly wasn't used to saying that word. Soon that expression fades into a kind face. I live near here, and I just need to get some more clothes. I see. Well, take care and come back soon. She spoke with a gentle smile. I'll be right back, Mother, Violet said. She looked like she could say the last word a little easier now. She walked towards the door. I'll be right back, Mr. Leon, Violet said in a polite tone. Just call me Leon, my dad said. Violet nods her head smiling. I look at my dad and say, I'll be right back, Dad. My dad nodded and said, take care of yourself out there, son. I nod my head indicating that I understand and then walk to the door. Violet holds my arm like a good wife and we walk out of the house. Visit WeaktoStrong for a better experience. When the door to the house closed, Victor and Violet suddenly disappeared. Chapter 13 Ruby Scarlett. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Ruby Scarlett's house, a beautiful woman with long red hair and a body that would be the envy of any model, was sleeping soundly in a very ordinary-looking king-size bed. She was sleeping in a very comfortable position. It seemed that nothing in this world could interrupt her sleep. Lady Ruby, suddenly a woman's voice can be heard in the bedroom. Ugh! Ruby gave a sign of life but continued to sleep. After all, she was fully convinced that no one would dare interrupt her sleep, and she also knew that no one would dare attack her family, and, because of that conviction, she could sleep as if she had no worries in the world. Lady Ruby. This time Ruby heard the woman's voice, but she was too lazy to get up. Though, for a moment, she thought this woman's voice was all too familiar. Well, she was too lazy to think, so she decided to continue to sleep. Kaguya, you're doing it wrong. Suddenly Ruby hears her personal maid's voice. Oh. How do you wake up your master, Luna? Kaguya asked in a neutral tone. Luna flashes a sadistic smile and approaches Ruby. Then she says, Ruby, I ripped up your entire personal anime collection. Ruby suddenly opens her eyes and looks coldly at Luna, her personal maid. You won't fool me again, Luna, Ruby said in a cold tone. TSK. Looks like I have to find another way to provoke Lady Ruby. The maid spoke aloud with a pout. Kaguya just looks at Luna with emotionless eyes. Luna was wearing a maid's uniform similar to Kaguya's. She has shoulder-length white hair, pale skin like all vampires, and pink eyes. She was a Russian woman with a height of 180 cm. Kaguya looks at a specific part of Luna, huge as always. She thought disdainfully. Luna's most outstanding feature was her huge breasts. Just like Ruby, who had the biggest breasts Kaguya has ever seen, Luna didn't seem to lose in this competition. Now that I've stopped to think about it, all the women of Lady Ruby's clan have huge breasts, Kaguya commented to herself. Ugh, I wanted to sleep. Ruby complained. She sat up in bed. When Kaguya sees Ruby's breasts dangle in the red nightgown she was wearing, she can't help but think, maybe I should just let Lady Violet kill this woman. Ruby looks at the guest and says, Oh, Kaguya. How long has it been since we have last seen each other? She said with a gentle smile. Seeing Ruby's gentle smile, Kaguya stops thinking about random bullshit. She knows that of the three women who are childhood friends, Ruby is the kindest, calmest, and the smartest person she knows. She also has nothing against this woman. Boing. Boing. Yes, she has nothing against Dash. Seeing Ruby's breasts bouncing as she stretches on the bed, Kaguya pulls back everything she thinks and decides it's a good idea to let this woman die. Kaguya. Ruby spoke as she stretched. Visit WeaktoStrong for a better experience. TSK. Kaguya didn't hide her annoyance, but soon her expression goes blank and she says, I came here to talk about Lady Violet. Ruby opens her eyes, a little surprised, but doesn't react too much. She expected something like this to happen. You came at a good time. I have something to tell you too. Oh. Kaguya looks at Ruby with curious eyes. Soon Ruby starts explaining to Kaguya about the noble vampire Cornelia Fulger. When Ruby finishes recounting the events that happened at the university to Kaguya, the black-haired maid only speaks in disdain. A young noble vampire who thinks he's the center of the world and has an ego more fragile than glass. What is new? Ruby nodded in agreement with Kaguya's words, but that's not the problem. What if Cornelia attacks him? Oh. Oh. Suddenly Luna, who was silent, started to smile. Lady Ruby won't call that man, darling, like Lady Violet. Ruby turns to face Luna and says in a cold tone, silence. Luna's body suddenly stops moving and she says, yes, Lady Ruby. She spoke in a neutral tone like a robot. She doesn't learn, huh? Kaguya spoke in a bored tone. Since the moment she met Luna, this woman has always liked to tease Ruby. Ruby is a kind person and doesn't like to use master status to force Luna to do things, but Luna knows no limits. She likes to tease Ruby in any situation. That's inappropriate behavior for a servant. After all, the servant cannot tarnish her master's reputation. Yes, I don't like to do that, but she doesn't know how to control her mouth. Ruby sighed. Kaguya nods in agreement, but then she says, about Corneliu, Lady Ruby, no need to worry. Why don't I need to worry? Ruby asked confused. Because Lord Victor can handle it, Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone, but Ruby could see she was confident Victor could handle it. Huh. But, he's a newborn, and a newborn can't fight a noble vampire who's been roaming the world for over 50 years. Even though Corneliu is weak by noble vampire standards, he's still a noble vampire. A newborn vampire can't handle him. Ruby explained her reasoning. Kaguya ignores Ruby's reasoning, and asks, Lady Ruby, have you forgotten what we are? Ruby opens her eyes for a moment when she understands what Kaguya means. Kaguya flashes a cold smile. We are vampires. We are not like wolves that take care of each other. If Victor dies fighting Corneliu, that means he wasn't as special as Lady Violet always said. Indeed, Ruby said with a cold smile, but soon she continues with a gentle smile, but I don't intend to become a widow before meeting my husband. And as a perfect maid I can't let my master be sad. After all, a maid must always prioritize the best for her master, Kaguya commented with a small smile on her face. Looks like we've agreed on something, Ruby said with the same smile. Indeed, Kaguya agreed. For more, visit wuxiax.com. But I didn't come here to talk about it. Kaguya suddenly changes the subject. I came here to say that Lady Violet's possessive attitude has been getting out of hand since the moment she met Victor. And she will probably try to kill you without worrying about the consequences. I know. Ruby commented with a sad smile. I've known her since she was little. I know how crazy she can be when someone takes something that belongs to her, and honestly, I guess Sasha and I shouldn't have been there when Victor was turned. After all, he was someone Violet had always been watching since she was a child. Ruby puts her hand on her neck and suddenly her eyes changed to blood red. A bloody atmosphere started coming out of Ruby's body, and slowly, it felt like Ruby's room was getting colder. It was like the temperature suddenly dropped into the negatives. But I don't intend to give up either. What happened in the ritual can't be undone and I can't go into hibernation because of a little mistake like that. I have a lot of things I want to do in the future yet. If Victor does become my darling, and when he becomes my darling, he'll have my full support for whatever he wants to do in the future. Ruby's smile grew unnaturally, and her sharp teeth started to show. She was no longer a kind woman. She seems to have changed to something much worse in just a few days, and, Kaguya noticed this change. Outside Kaguya had the same blank expression, but inside she couldn't help thinking, for God's sake, another one. Does Lord Victor's blood have properties that turn female vampires into stalkers? I understand, I'm leaving, Kaguya said when she turned around. She had fulfilled her goal. Ruby, seeing that Kaguya was leaving, returned to her gentle appearance. Are you going to visit Sasha? She asked curiously. Yes, Kaguya said. Be careful with Sasha's new maid, she's special, Ruby warned her. What happened to the former maid? Kaguya asked as she turned and looked at Ruby and, seeing Ruby's sad look, she said, she died. Yes. She was murdered by the dogs of the church. Ruby spoke in an angry and at the same time sad tone. She knew Sasha's maid, Julia. She always talked a lot to Julia when she went to visit Sasha. I see, Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone, but Ruby could hear some sadness in her voice. Soon the shadow started to engulf Kaguya, and she disappeared. Seeing that Kaguya is gone, Ruby looks at Luna, then her eyes change to blood red for a moment, and soon Luna starts acting normally. Sorry about that again, Luna. It's okay, I know I go overboard sometimes, Luna commented with a small smile on her face. Sometimes? Ruby raised an eyebrow. Luna used her right to remain silent. Ruby sighs and looks at her watch. Seeing it was 8 o'clock in the morning, she thinks it's still too early. My university starts in the afternoon and I'm too lazy to make arrangements to avoid sunlight when I go out. I think I'll just sleep again. Ruby lays on the bed and pulls her sheet to cover her body. The moment she lays down she feels thirsty. When she feels this craving for blood that can't be satiated by ordinary blood, she can't help cursing. Violet, that bitch, she's got her thirst quenched but she doesn't think about the consequences. Does she want my darling to go into a coma? Ruby's eyes kept changing red and green, she was trying to resist the bloodlust. Lady Ruby. Luna spoke worriedly. It's okay, Luna. Soon this problem will cease to exist. Ruby spoke while still lying down. As soon as she covers the sheet up to her head she closes her eyes. She was trying to sleep while ignoring her bloodlust which seems to be increasing with each passing day. Luna looks at Ruby worriedly, she can't help but think inwardly, that's bad, if it goes on like this Lady Ruby could lose control or go into a sleep state. I need to do something. Luna was thinking about what she could do to help Ruby, but she couldn't find any ideas in her head when, suddenly, she has a brilliant idea. I'm going to get in touch with Ruby's mom. The source of this content is WeaktoStrong. Two tall men were walking down the street as they were looking around. They were wearing two full black priest's robes, but unlike normal priest's clothes, these men's clothes were designed for combat and easy movement. Around these men's necks, a small white crucifix can be seen. The two men appeared to have Western features. One had dark black hair and brown eyes, the other had light brown hair and black eyes. While the black-haired man had a simple cut, the brown-haired man had a bowl-shaped haircut. Thomas, what are we doing? We've been down this street about 500 times. For the love of our father, let's get out of here. The brown-haired man spoke impatiently. Shut up, dickhead. I feel those evil creatures around here, I smell the stink. Thomas, the black-haired man, spoke with conviction. When the brown-haired man hears what Thomas said, he is furious. Don't call me dickhead. I have a name that God gave me. My name is. Yes, whatever. Come on, dickhead, the equipment is feeling something over there, Thomas said as he pointed to a street. Hey! Do not ignore me. And we've been down this street before. Dickhead spoke. Strange, this is state-of-the-art equipment, is it defective? Thomas spoke as he looked at the device in his hand. The device was shaped like a wooden crucifix. Dickhead approaches Thomas and looks at the equipment. He suddenly gets angrier. This is not state-of-the-art equipment. This equipment was used during the hunting of vampires in the 18th century. For the love of God. Where did you get this? Huh. I got it from the church warehouse. It said equipment for tracking vampires. Did you look at which version of the equipment? Thomas turns his face away. Yes. Veins start popping in Dickhead's head. You're an idiot. Are these the famous hunters from the Inquisition? Victor, who was watching these two hunters on top of a house, asked as he looked at Violet, who was standing next to him. Violet turns her face away, and replies, yes. Are you sure? Victor looked at the two priests again and then looked at Violet, who was ignoring him. Yes, I guess. Violet replied uncertainly. Victor looked at the two priests again, and seeing them argue again, are you absolutely sure they aren't two comedians dressed as priests? Violet looks at the priests again, seeing how she had no way to explain the attitude of those priests. She uses her right to remain silent, but internally she was thinking, I evacuated the humans from the surrounding area thinking there might be conflict, but it looks like I've done a useless job. These two hunters are still inexperienced. Does it look like they're on their first mission? She thought. Victor looks at Violet for a moment and ignores her, then he uses his vampire vision and looks at the priests. Seeing the golden energy covering those priests, and feeling a little stink of sewage emanating from them, he confirms for the 10th time they are vampire hunters. Sigh. Victor couldn't help but sigh. No need to be disappointed, darling. There are experienced hunters. Maybe in the future, you'll find other hunters better. Violet starts talking quickly as if trying to cheer him up. Victor looks at Violet confused. I'm not disappointed by that, I'm just disappointed that these two agents messed up our moment along with this stink of sewage. I was hoping they would be more competent. He explained. Updated from WeaktoStrong. Oh. On second thought. They messed up our moment together, huh? Remembering that she was about to finally catch up with Victor and those two hampered him with their stink, the anger she'd previously felt returned explosively. Violet suddenly starts to emit a bloody pressure. Victor, seeing Violet's bloodthirsty expression, thought she was very beautiful, but he also thought, fuck, she's going to kill them. When Violet disappears, Victor also disappears. While watching her, he was thinking, I can't let her kill those agents, I need to know their goals in this town. Chapter 14, Thomas and Jimmy. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Thomas and his friend also sense Violet's killing intent. They stop arguing and assume a serious expression. Jimmy, dickhead, now known as Jimmy, said, you only call my name in this kind of situation, asshole. Jimmy takes a Bible from the little bag he was carrying, then he opens it and puts his hand on the pages of the Bible, and begins to speak, Oh my Lord, please forgive these corrupt souls, and bless your lost lambs in this battle to come. A golden light descends on Jimmy and Thomas. At that moment Thomas grabs the crucifix that was around his neck and yells out, I am the man chosen by God to be his messenger. Suddenly Thomas's crucifix changes its appearance and, slowly, a western sword forms in his hand. This sword had a normal appearance, but the blade was strange. The edge of the blade seemed to be covered by some kind of golden light. Violet appears beside Thomas and, just as she was about to kick him, she is stopped by a golden barrier. Violet pulls away and looks at her feet that were a little bruised, but soon are cured by the vampire's abnormal regeneration. Then she looks at Jimmy with a murderous glare. When Thomas sees Violet's red eyes and her pale complexion, he yells with a hateful smile. Vampire! We've actually found a vampire, and it's still morning. Jimmy opens his eyes wide as he realizes that only one coven of vampires could walk in the sun without worrying. Thomas, we must run quickly, we need to get away. Huh? Why? We have a vampire here, let's kill her. Thomas yelled. Fool! Look at the situation calmly, she is a vampire but she is walking around in broad daylight. Only one. Suddenly Violet appears at Jimmy's side again and attacks him, intending to rip his head off. She's trying to eliminate me. Jimmy jumps back in an attempt to dodge, then pulls holy water from his bag and throws it to the ground. He holds up certain pages of the Bible and shouts, Michael, Guardian Prince and Warrior, defend me and protect me with your sword. Don't let any harm come to me. Suddenly a golden sword falls from the sky and appears in front of Jimmy. The sword was giant and it seemed to be made of pure golden energy. Violet quickly backs away, jumping back when she realizes she couldn't kill Jimmy in time, since she doesn't want to take Jimmy's attack. Oh. You're talented. She displayed a small predatory smile that showed off her sharp teeth. I don't want compliments from a demon like you. Jimmy yelled. How rude, have you ever seen such a sexy, beautiful demon like her? Victor suddenly appears on top of a fence while sitting down looking like a Japanese delinquent. Jimmy turns when he hears another voice, then he looks at Victor and, seeing the predatory smile on Victor's face and his red eyes, Jimmy felt a shiver down his spine. Another vampire who can walk in the sunlight, they are from that clan of cursed nobles. We don't have a chance here, we need to retreat. Thomas, seeing that a new vampire appeared, and realizing that he was closer to him, exhibited a hateful smile. God, bless this little servant with a strong body immune to fatigue. In this way, his servants will fight countless battles. Thomas's body began to glow, and the golden light from the sword that was located on its blade began to glow brighter. Thomas! Don't do it, you fool! Damn it! Jimmy yelled angrily when he saw what Thomas was about to do. They shouldn't be fighting this battle, we should have backed off and told the superiors that there are vampires from that cursed clan in this town. Thomas suddenly disappears into golden light. Victor looks to the side and sees that Thomas was approaching. Is he aiming for my head? From Victor's perspective, Thomas was still very slow. He also felt that the golden energy coming out of Thomas's sword was dangerous. Updated from WeaktoStrong. Ha! Give me your head. Suddenly Thomas's speed increased explosively and he swung his sword towards Victor. Victor jumps up calmly and dodges Thomas's attack. but suddenly he feels like his face has been scratched. Ugh, what is this pain? It is like I've been burned from the inside. It's like thousands of ants are biting my face at the same time. He touches his face and thinks, I'm sure I dodged it, I'm not foolish enough to let that energy hit my body, but how did he hit me? Thomas. You fool. Control your energy correctly. You missed a chance. Ugh. I know. Thomas spoke as he avoided hitting a wall in front of him. He managed to stop in time to avoid being smashed against the wall. He stopped in front of the wall and started breathing heavily. He had used all his energy in that attack. This was an attack that could cause permanent damage to an ordinary vampire. Oh, can he control the energy any way he wants? This is interesting. It means that if he was an experienced hunter I would have lost my head. I understand. I understand. Victor thought with a neutral face. He was learning a lot from this situation, but he also felt strange. The longer this battle dragged on he was getting calmer and calmer. He was feeling very strange. He thought the first time he fought while in control of his actions he would be more scared, but instead of scared, he is feeling very calm. He can't explain to himself why he is feeling that way. Suddenly a bloody pressure exploded around everyone. Victor, Thomas, and Jimmy look at Violet in shock and her expression was distorted into pure hatred. You fuckers. Boom. A pillar of fire burst from Violet's body like a volcano that had erupted. She puts her hand to her face like she's possessed by something while mumbling loud enough for everyone to hear. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you hurt my beloved, darling? You motherfucking pigs. How could Violet allow this? Her beloved darling was hurt by mere pigs. They're just food for vampires, how dare they? That fire. Thomas spoke with an expression of fear. I warned you. We should have backed off. We don't stand a chance against someone from that cursed clan. You never listened to me. Jimmy yelled as he kept his attention on Victor who was wearing a gentle smile and Violet who had a hateful expression, looking at the pillar of fire that Violet was producing. All that was on Jimmy's mind now is to run away. He was extremely terrified since he provoked a monster that he shouldn't provoke. Ha ha ha, Victor suddenly started to laugh lightly when he saw Violet's face. She was very adorable to him and, because of that, he was laughing with happiness. Jimmy and Thomas looked at Victor like they were looking at a madman. How can he laugh in this situation? Why are you laughing? Thomas yelled annoyed as he watched the cut on Victor's face abnormally heal. He was internally surprised by this. Our god's energy healed so easily. Is that the power of a noble vampire? Jimmy, when he heard what Thomas said, looked at Thomas with murderous eyes. He promised himself he would part with Thomas if he survives all this. That man is just too stupid. Why am I laughing? I really do not know. I just felt like laughing, so I laughed. Victor lied easily. He looks at Violet with a loving smile. Isn't she beautiful? Tell me, have you ever seen a woman more beautiful than her? Victor asked while smiling. Ha! The hunter's brain stopped working for a few seconds. They looked at Violet, saw her hateful expression, and they couldn't help but think, is that beautiful? Was this vampire's brain melted by the previous attack? The source of this content is wuxiax.com. Victor ignores the hunters and walks towards Violet. Then, when he gets close to Violet, he lightly touches her face. Strangely, the fire didn't burn him. He just felt comfortable as if it was natural for him. Violet slowly starts to ignore the hunters and looks at Victor with murderous eyes. Suddenly she feels something invading her mouth. Hump dash. Feeling something wet invading her mouth, and realizing what Victor was doing, Violet's hateful expression slowly began to melt and her cheeks slowly began to turn a shade redder. Tongues have started dancing in Violet's and Victor's mouths, but that doesn't last long. When Victor separates, a bridge of saliva forms, then he flashes a gentle smile. Are you calmer? Why yes, she spoke with red cheeks as she turned her face and smiled a little. Happily, Victor laughs and pats her head. He finds the raw change in Violet's personality adorable. One moment she's a vampire killer, and the other moment she acts like a teenager who's in love, and he loved that trait of Violet. Suddenly, Victor looks at the two agents who were slowly trying to get away. Seeing that Victor looked at them, the hunters couldn't help but speak in fear. Oh shit. Victor hears footsteps approaching and he decides to leave the scene. Although Violet has evacuated the surrounding area, the fire that Violet invoked drew a lot of attention. Honey, get that boy with bold hair and I'll get Thomas. Do as I say, okay? He spoke with a gentle smile. Why yes, darling, she commented stuttering, while her expression was a little red with embarrassment. Victor uses his speed, and he disappears beside Violet then reappears beside Thomas. Thomas was going to say something, but Victor kicked him in the face and put him to sleep. He then picks Thomas up like a sack of potatoes and disappears. Violet appears alongside Jimmy but, unlike Thomas, Jimmy can't resist being taken away. God, please protect this lamb that is being kidnapped to the devil's lair. In an abandoned building on the outskirts of where Violet and Victor's battle took place, I throw the hunter named Thomas to the ground. When he falls to the ground he suddenly wakes up while yelling, ouch. Violet came right behind me and threw the hunter named Jimmy to the ground. Ouch. He started to massage his ass. I notice that Violet is staring at Thomas with a murderous look, so I move closer to her and start stroking her head. How are you feeling? Her expression softens and she bites her lip in frustration. I'm angry. I want to kill him. He hurt my darling. I nod my head several times as if I'm agreeing with what she said, but actually I was thinking it's a good thing she's letting off steam. After all, if you hold too many emotions bottled up in your body, you can go crazy. Venting is a good thing, especially for vampires who feel emotions more strongly than humans. Did she get that way for just a little cut? I can't help but hug her in happiness. Humph. Violet made a weird sound as I hugged her and put her head on my chest. When she realized what I did, the rest of her turned bright red and it seems like smoke started to come out of her head, a phenomenon that happened due to her powers. I think, I realized she was breathing heavily. She was embarrassed but she seemed to like my scent. Visit to wuxiax.com. Discover new novels. I like when you are mad for me, but you can't lose control like that. I drop her head from my chest and gently take her face in my hands, then I make her look at me. Thanks for being mad for me, but don't lose control of your emotions in battle. I spoke in a definite tone, not allowing refusal. I may not be battle savvy, but one thing I'm sure of, losing control of emotions in a battle with hunters who were bred to exterminate vampires is foolish. I will try not to lose control, she replied while breathing heavily. I could see her face was very red. I laughed a little. I'll also try not to lose control of my emotions. Wow, I sound like a hypocrite now. I tell her not to lose control of emotions, but I also don't know if I can control my emotions in the middle of battle. I say this for the simple reason that I don't know my current self. Sometimes my emotions seem out of control, like in the one incident, and sometimes my emotions are calm as a lake. This is just incomprehensible to me. Normally, I would be able to control my emotions. That was something I learned from my mother. But, since I became a vampire, I don't recognize myself anymore. Easy things that I could do before, like controlling emotions, are no longer easy and became more difficult. This was a very strange situation for me, but I realized something. I'm only forced to demonstrate my true self when I have personal grudges with the enemy, or when I think the opponent is strong enough to face me. I didn't know I was a battle maniac. Actually, what am I? Let's think about possible situations so I can form a coherent train of thought. The first situation, 1. I had a grudge against him, and because of that, I felt great when I humiliated him. The second situation, the Inquisition. The moment I realized the hunters couldn't give me a challenge, I lost interest, and I calmed down. I'm changing. I'm changing too fast and I don't know what's going to happen when my evolution stops. What am I going to become? I can't help but display a predatory smile that shows off all my sharp teeth as I imagine what I'll become when I stop evolving. Seeing my smile, I can feel Violet shivering, and I can smell her scent that is leaking from her secret garden. She seemed to be excited. Cough. Can we leave? Hunter Jimmy asked in a shy tone. Violet stops looking at me and looks at Jimmy with an annoyed look. I lightly patted Violet's head and pulled away from her. Come to think of it now, these two men are no longer reeking like sewage. What's going on? Was it the effect of that device they were using? I smell the air a little bit and they don't stink at all. Stopping to think about it now, during the previous fight I felt their stink getting stronger. I think it's the energy they use that makes them stink like sewage for me and Violet. I look at Jimmy and see that he has a red face, embarrassed at Violet and eyes show of affection. I flash a small smile. Not yet, I say. Oh, I see, he spoke in a dismayed tone. I laughed lightly. Don't worry, as long as you say everything you know you can get out of here alive. After all, your goal here isn't us, right? Jimmy looks at me with an excited face. Yes. We came here to hunt a vampire named Lucy. He is wreaking havoc in the human world and some time ago he kidnapped several men and women. Jimmy, what are you doing? Thomas interrupts Jimmy. Something happens that surprises Violet and me. Jimmy turns and looks at Thomas with an annoyed look. Shut fuck up, you fucking muscle brain. You can find the rest of this content on the WeaktoStrong platform. Huh. Thomas didn't understand. Chapter 15 Jimmy is a smart guy. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Something happens that surprises Violet and me. Jimmy turns and looks at Thomas with an annoyed look. Shut fuck up, you fucking muscle brain. Huh. Thomas didn't understand why his friend reacted so strongly to his words. He was going to say something again, but he decided to keep quiet because he saw the look Jimmy was giving him. It was a look that said, shut up and let me figure this out. Well, this is interesting. Jimmy seems to be a smarter man than Thomas, who only acts out of emotion, I thought as I looked at the two hunters standing in front of me. Like I was saying. Jimmy looks at me and flashes a gentle smile, then he continues with bright eyes, Sir Vampire, we're just here to hunt down the vampire named Lucy, that I had already deduced that, oh. Who is participating in this hunt? I asked curiously. Jimmy seemed to be very willing to cooperate. Me, this idiot here, and 3 more veteran hunters. A man named Carlos Rice, he's an American vampire hunter, and a woman named Mizuki, she doesn't have a last name that I know, she's a Japanese hunter. Jimmy spilled everything as if he were confessing his sins to a priest. When Mizuki's name was mentioned I felt a slight tensing from Violet, so I looked at her. When she saw my look, she opened her mouth and began to speak. Mizuki is a veteran hunter, she is one of the new generals of the Inquisition. She spoke in a neutral tone, then she continues, she can fight a vampire who is over 500 years old easily. The last report I heard about Mizuki was from Japan, where she had single-handedly eliminated 10 clans of noble vampires. Japan's noble vampires aren't as strong as those in the Romanian community, but even so, that's an impressive feat. How many generals are there? I asked curious. I was surprised by the fact that it seems like humans have strong people on their side. For, each general is an exceptional force that can fight 1,000-plus-year-old vampires easily. They are the strongest humans alive. Violet seemed to praise them for a moment, then she continued. I don't know how they do it, but it looks like the Inquisition is getting stronger as time goes on. Historically speaking, humans always adapt against the threats they faced, so it's no surprise they're getting stronger, but I'm pretty sure the methods they're using to get stronger aren't nice for the people involved. After all, humans can commit the greatest atrocities for the greater good. Jimmy suddenly began to speak out loud. It is clear. The generals are God's chosen warriors. They have eternal youth and many God-given abilities. Our Father bless this lost lamb. He spoke like a fanatic as he looked up at the roof of the abandoned building and clasped both hands together in a gesture of prayer. Chosen by God, huh? I thought with a little skepticism. Does the God he talks about so much exist? Why didn't he eliminate vampires? After all, he was supposed to be a powerful being, right? I think someone is using the name of God to bring people together to fight for their organization's goals. Well, this wouldn't be the first time in history that someone has used the name of God to do something like that. Visit WeaktoStrong for a better experience. And the last hunter, what's his name? I asked Jimmy. Jimmy stopped praying and looked at me. It's not him, it's her. Then he continues, her name is Maria, she is an American woman and also Carlos' partner, but she is missing. Maria, Carlos, and Mizuki. 3 strong hunters and 2 beginners. They are putting a lot of effort into hunting Lucy, as I believe that just Mizuki's presence alone would be enough to eliminate Lucy. he didn't look like a strong vampire. I start to reflect on the information I obtained and I can't help but think of something: the situation has changed. This is becoming a dangerous game, and interesting. I can't help but smile a little when I think about it, but then I put my hand to my face and think, when did I start having suicidal tendencies? And, why am I having fun with this situation? I'm a newborn vampire. If I were to confront these hunters I would just die like a pig being slaughtered. I need to control myself. I start thinking about what I should do next, then I look at Violet, who's been staring at me for a long time, and she says, "We can't let them go anymore." That I nod in agreement with my wife's words. It looks like she had the same thought as me. Why, but we told you everything we know. Please do not kill me. Jimmy spoke in despair. I look at Jimmy and I can't help but think he's very cowardly and at the same time very smart. He prioritizes his life and doesn't mind selling out his allies to live on. He's the perfect example of a soldier that you wouldn't want around in your organization. By comparison, Thomas is a loyal man, and hot-headed. He is a perfect pawn. Just out of curiosity, did you choose Thomas as your partner? I asked with genuine curiosity as I pointed at Thomas. I didn't choose him. God chose us to be each other's companions. Jimmy said, annoyed. He seemed to have spent a lot of time with Thomas. Oh. Now, I get it. They brought the two together on purpose. They hoped that Thomas's loyal personality would pass on to Jimmy. After all, people are influenced by other people. It seems that God is a very cautious being. Well, I apologize, Jimmy. I can't let you go. After all, the situation has changed, but don't worry, we won't treat you badly, I said with an innocent smile. Visit to WeaktoStrong, discover new novels. I appear next to Jimmy and try to test something I've wanted to for a long time, and now we have the perfect guinea pig here. Look into my eyes. My eyes turn blood red. You will do whatever I order, okay? Soon I hear Violet. That isn't going to work, darling. They have something that prevents them from being enchanted. Oh. I look at Violet. We've never found out what it is, but the Inquisition has ways that can prevent vampires from enchanting the members. She suddenly stops talking when she hears Jimmy say. Yes, I will. Jimmy spoke with blood-red eyes. Huh. Darling. What did you do? Violet asked excitedly. I was about to answer Violet, but Thomas, who was just silently looking at us with hate, yelled. I'm going to kill you, bastard. What did you do to Jimmy? He looked at me like I was his mortal enemy. This man has a very big hatred, huh? Looks like something happened in the past. I can guess what happened just from the look of hatred he has for me. Looks like he's a victim of vampires. Oh my God, please. As he was about to start speaking the incantation, I appeared in front of him and, grabbing him by the neck with my right hand, held him in the air. Just shut up, and obey me for now, okay? He looked into my red eyes, and soon his eyes turned red. Yes, he spoke in a mechanical tone as if he had no life. I drop him gently to the ground. Looking at the two hunters, I display a small smile. I was still curious about some things, especially about the spells they did in the last fight. I'll make them tell me everything I want to know. Let's get them to your mansion. I don't want potential enemies in my parents' house. I say. The latest episodes are on the WeaktoStrong website. I was thinking the same thing, darling. Sasha house. I heard what happens, Lady Sasha. Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone with a little sympathy as she looked at Sasha. She was currently in a luxury hotel room. Precisely speaking, she was on the 25th floor of a luxury hotel in a presidential suite. She was looking at a blonde woman with short hair and blue eyes that were constantly changing from red to blue. It was quite obvious to Kaguya that Sasha was bloodthirsty. Sasha has a voluptuous body, big breasts, but not as big as Ruby's, and pale skin, but the feature that draws the most attention is her ass and her legs, which were very thick. If Ruby had the biggest breasts, Sasha had the biggest ass and leg Kaguya had ever seen. And? Did you come here to give me your pity? She spoke with cold, tired eyes. Kaguya shakes her head, and asks in a neutral tone, what happened? This is not your problem, Sasha spoke coldly. Wrong, Kaguya said coldly as her eyes changed to blood red. I've known Julia longer than you. She was like a teacher to all the maids who served the houses of the 4 vampire earls. Just like she was a teacher to me, she was a mother to you. This is my problem too. Sasha opened her eyes a little, and spoke in a sad voice, I understand, I'm sorry. Kaguya was silent for a moment. She wasn't very good at comforting a person. What happened? She asked again in a neutral tone. Sasha's eyes that had been alternating between sapphire blue and blood red suddenly turn red, and then she orders, Maid. A blonde maid gently opens the door of the room she was in, walks slowly towards Sasha's side, and stands beside Sasha waiting for any order from her master. From beginning to end, all her movements were very robotic. It was quite clear that Sasha was abusing her status as master. Kaguya looks to the side and sees the blonde woman with her hair tied in a low bun. She has blue eyes and a serious expression. Her outfit is a maid's uniform similar to the one Kaguya wears, and she wears long black gloves so as not to directly touch her master. Kaguya could also see with her vampire vision small threads surrounding the woman as if they were protecting her. You can find the rest of this content on the WeaktoStrong platform. When the maid appeared, Sasha began to speak. After the ritual took place, I went home. She started to describe what happened. Chapter 16 Ambush. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. January 31st, the day the ritual that turned Victor into a vampire took place. Sasha's POV. I do not believe this. I do not believe this. It's all Violet's fault, that stupid stalker. I said as I jumped from building to building and held my neck. My breathing was ragged and my mouth was oozing blood from that newly transformed human. Ah, this blood tastes so good. This blood makes those sack drinks that my family provides taste like nothing. The best blood I've ever tasted, and now it's mine. Is this just mine? I shake my head several times to get that thought out of my head, then stop on top of a building and look up at the cloudy sky. I sigh and say, I can't believe I'm married to a stranger. I mean, Victor is not a complete stranger. Violet has always talked about him to Ruby and me since when we were kids. We always had to listen to Violet talking about her. Darling, honestly, when I was a kid I found this very irritating, but as time went on I got used to Violet's craziness. I accepted the request to help with the ritual, but I never thought something like this would happen, I said as I crouched down and sat in the building. I mean, who would have thought this would happen? Shouldn't the ritual be individual? Why did this irregularity happen? Because of that now, I'm married. And I don't even know my husband personally. I practically yelled as I held my head in frustration. It's all Violet's fault. Oh. I'm getting annoyed again. Wait. Suddenly, I realize something important. If I don't take my husband's blood, I'll dry up. I'll turn into a dry mummy, and my body will go into hibernation, and that is still a positive result. In the worst case, I'll go crazy from bloodlust. Fuck. I yelled in frustration. How am I supposed to make this work? Hey, Victor, I am your wife. Give me your blood. I spoke like I was acting in a drama, but soon my face turned bright red. No. This is shameful. I never met him in person. I shake my head several times to get that thought out of my head. Anyway, I must go home. I get up and jump towards a mansion I bought. Arriving at the mansion, I open the door and the first thing I see made me freeze in disbelief. My maid Julia's headless body was sprawled on the couch. The room was messed up. It was like a fight had happened, and it wasn't just Julia's body that was scattered. No, Julia. I spoke in disbelief. I couldn't form coherent thoughts when I saw the body of the maid who practically raised me since I was little. I could see the bodies of all my servants, vampires, and humans. A massacre took place here while I was gone. I didn't have time to be in mourning because I felt someone approaching at high speed. I covered my body with my lightning and dodged the attack. The attack passes by me and I can see the door to my mansion breaking into pieces. Oh. The ambush failed. That's too bad. I hear a man's voice. Looking at the man I see he's a tall bald white man and he's wearing a priest's robes, but it looks like it's been adapted to look like a black suit. Church dogs, I growled in anger, but soon I swallow that anger and try to stay calm. now is not the time to lose control, but I can't control my anger. Seeing the body of my headless mother, a burning fury I can't control escapes my body. You fuckers. Boom. Lightning started to cover my entire body. The man ignores me and pulls tight the black glove he was wearing in a gesture as if the glove was loose. He stands like a martial artist and says, "God bless this servant's fist so he can punish sinners." When the man said this, his fist began to glow with a faint golden glow. When I try to move using my legs, I feel my movements being restricted. Success, good job Carlos. Suddenly, a woman who was wearing a nun's dress appears, same as the man. It looks like her uniform was tailored to look like a tight-fitting suit. I could see in her hands she held several strands spread all over the mansion. They suspend me in the air in a way that I look like I'm on a crucifix. Nice job Maria, Carlos spoke in a neutral tone. Honestly, I don't want to deal with the heiress of Clan Fulger, those rays are quite incompatible with my fighting style. Indeed, you're lucky to have me as your partner, or you could never capture her alive, Maria said. You are my lucky charm, Carlos praised her with visible feelings. They seemed to have something together. My anger reached the boiling point when these dogs treated me like I was easy prey to hunt. They invade my house. They kill the woman who was like a mother to me, they kill my servants and still despise me. Unforgivable. Church dogs. I screamed angrily, my teeth started to change and got sharper, then a bloody pressure started to leak out of my body. I'm going to kill them. Sigh, I knew it wouldn't be that easy, Carlos grumbled as if it were troublesome. Indeed, she wouldn't be the heiress of a Count clan if she was weak. Maria supports him, she gestures with her hands, and the wires that were holding me start to get tighter, but I also felt my skin burning. Ah! I cry out in pain. I look at the strands and realize they have a slight golden glow. Realizing I was at a disadvantage while fighting indoors with this woman, I made a decision. A decision that hurt my pride. I need to run away. I can't fight alone now. I needed to run away. I needed to run away. I know I needed to, but... I look at Julia's headless body and seeing that the rage that was running rampant started to rise again. I was angry, I want revenge. I focused my gaze on Maria. With the previous demonstration, it's pretty obvious that the bald guy has feelings for Maria. I flash a smile almost on the verge of insanity and decide to use a technique my real mother taught me. Covering my body with golden lightning, I start to force my body to go beyond the possible limits of a noble vampire. I feel the rays entering my body and affecting it with small jolts of electricity. This is a self-destructive technique that only can be used by me. This technique expands my speed above the limit of sound. I kick the air with my legs, and suddenly they both hear a sonic boom, boom. I feel the woman's strands snapping, and releasing me. When I'm released, I use my speed and appear behind Maria. I was tempted to finish Carlos now, but when I saw his body being covered by dense golden energy as I ran, I changed my mind. And this decision to kill Carlos here wouldn't satisfy me. He needs to suffer, he needs to see his mate become something he hunts. I bite Maria on the neck, and when she realizes what's about to happen, she screams. No. I hear Churchhound's desperate cry and it made me bite her neck even harder and make her scream even more. Maria? Carlos ran towards us, but the moment he wanted to act to help Maria, I disappeared. Cursed be the vampires. The Churchhound's scream was ironically like a devil's scream, and I don't know why, but I start to laugh out loud and with tears in my eyes. Fuck you, shitty dog. I yelled as I fled. A few km away from Sasha's mansion, Sasha throws Maria on the ground and tears off the crucifix that was around Maria's neck, then she bites her finger and a drop of blood falls to the ground. When this drop falls to the ground, a magic circle is formed. I didn't prepare the proper materials for you to become my full-fledged servant, but who cares? With this you'll become what you hate the most, a vampire, and worse than a normal vampire, you'll become a defective vampire. She spoke with a smile that showed all of her sharp teeth as tiny tears fell from her face. The last vision before Maria fell into unconsciousness was the image of Sasha smiling at her with a crazy smile as tears fell from her face. Kaguya listened to the whole story from Sasha's mouth in silence. From beginning to end, Kaguya's expression didn't change. But Kagaya's indifferent atmosphere suddenly exploded with killing intent when she heard the state of Julia's body. Kagaya looked at Maria, the former vampire slayer who has now turned into what she swore to kill. Kagaya's expression remained indifferent, but her atmosphere said everything she needed to know. She's furious. Maria, Sasha's new maid, just looked at Kagaya with serious eyes. It was like she wasn't affected by Kagaya's pure intention to kill, but if we looked with sharper eyes, we would all be able to see small beads of sweat falling from Maria's face. Maria's instincts were screaming for her to do something, but unfortunately, the master's order was absolute. She couldn't do anything. Since the moment she became Sasha's servant, the noble vampire always had her on a tight leash. She always ordered her to stay close. A trap. The church dogs are more active than I thought. Something is going on behind the scenes. Kagaya spoke in a neutral tone as she looked at Sasha. Her killing intent suddenly disappeared, but Sasha could see by the look in Kagaya's eyes that her anger has not yet ceased. Yes, according to my maid, a man named Lucy stole something very valuable from the church. Unfortunately, I couldn't get information on what that something is. My maid didn't know anything. Sasha spoke neutrally while showing disdain for the word my maid. Are you sure about that? Kagaya questioned her. Follow current novels on WeaktoStrong. Sasha decides to demonstrate with actions. She looks at Maria, then Sasha's eyes start to sparkle. Tell me what you were planning to do with your lover. We were planning to get married and have kids next year. Maria spoke in a robotic tone as her eyes glowed red. Sasha's smile grew into a hateful smile when she heard these words. She seemed to be planning something, and Kagaya noticed this smile. When you killed my former head maid, what did you feel? And what was your purpose in making that trap? Nothing, I feel nothing. After all, this is just a job. Carlos attacked the mansion head-on and killed all the servants, while I ripped the vampire maid's head off and set a trap with my wires. Our goal was to capture the heiress of the Fulger clan. Stop, I get your point. Kagaya spoke in a neutral tone. She understood why Sasha was demonstrating this to her. Sasha wanted to tell Kagaya with these actions that the new maid was in her control. Oh. But now it was getting to the good part. Sasha spoke like this was all a big joke. She obviously wasn't right in her head. Continue, why did you want to capture me? Sasha ordered. The Inquisition received information that the leader of Clan Fulger lost his position as a vampire count and became an ordinary noble vampire. The Inquisition decided it would be a good opportunity to further weaken this clan by capturing their heiress, who was located in the United States of America. Kagaya opened her eyes wide when she heard what Maria said. Seeing the shocked expression on her always stoic face, Sasha can't help commenting in a broken tone as her eyes constantly change from blood red to green. Yes, funny, right? My parents will lose the Earl title. My mother probably must have done the stupid things she always does, and in the end, I think she bet our title on some stupid game made by the nobles. And because of that, these idiots here thought it would be a good idea to capture me and use me as a bargaining chip so they can further diminish the strength of my clan. And you know what's funny? Sasha spoke. If these church dogs had been successful, my parents wouldn't care about my existence. They would say I was weak or something and that I should die. A very funny situation, right? The only people who cared about me died because of those idiots who call me daughter. Sasha spoke dismissively. Lady Sasha, Kagaya didn't know what to say. I don't want your pity. Sasha was about to say something, but suddenly she realized that Kagaya was standing beside her while her body was hidden by the darkness. I'm sorry, Lady Sasha. Ha-dash. Sasha just stared into Kagaya's glowing red eyes with a shocked expression. She never thought Kagaya would do that to her. Kagaya slits Sasha's neck, and blood sprays her face. Soon Sasha falls to the ground as if she were dead. Kagaya disappears again, and appears behind Maria, then attacks the maid's ribs with shadowy daggers, after which she slashes Maria's neck. Maria's eyes suddenly lose the glow of life and she falls to the ground. Sigh, it's hard to be a perfect maid. Kagaya sighs as she wipes her face with a handkerchief she took from her pocket, and suddenly her shadows start to grow and slowly swallow Maria. Then Maria's body disappears into Kagaya's shadows. You can find the rest of this content on the WeaktoStrong platform. Kagaya turns her face away and looks at Sasha's body as several thoughts run through her head. Chapter 17, She is your wife. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. POV Kagaya, sigh, it's hard to be a perfect maid. I can't let myself think about it again as I look over my shoulder and see an all-black bag made of a material that keeps sunlight out. Inside that bag was Lady Sasha, a friend from Lady Violet's childhood. I could put Lady Sasha in my shadow, but that would be pretty rude to her. After all, my shadow isn't a nice place. Sigh. I can't help but sigh again. Maid's duty is to always want the best for her master. This was a teaching that Julia always put in my head when I was younger. Julia was a role model for all maids, a maid considered to be perfect who trained all maids serving the households of noble vampires of count status. She was Sasha's personal maid. She was also the head maid of the Fulger clan and, most importantly, she was also like a mother to Sasha herself. Losing a mother figure, and finding out your family lost their count status in the nobility must have been quite a shock to Lady Sasha. I mumble under my breath with a little pity as I bounced from building to building. I was coming back to Lord Victor's house. Lady Sasha is not in a good mental condition. She is normally a noble woman, calm, and someone who follows the rules of the vampire world faithfully. But, when she went through several losses in a short time, her mental state was affected and she was not thinking clearly. If I left Lady Sasha alone, she would make a rash decision that could cause her death, and if Lady Sasha died, Lord Victor would likely lose himself in bloodlust or fall into a deep sleep. After all, the ritual is something that cannot be broken. To prevent the worst fate from happening, the three women must stay together, because if they don't, they will suffer. Lord Victor needs his wife's blood and his wives need Lord Victor's blood, and since Lady Violet is Lord Victor's wife, I need to resolve this situation. Sigh. Should I really look for another job? Maybe I can go back to Japan and teach younger maids in the future. I spoke out loud, but I knew that was not what I wanted. I want to be a perfect maid, and a perfect maid is one who chooses her master, but it seems I was far from that goal. Maybe Lord Victor will praise me for doing a good job. I shake my head several times to get this thought out of my mind, not noticing that my face is a little red. I keep jumping from building to building. Victor POV, Violet and I returned with the two hunters to her mansion. After quizzing the hunters about their abilities and everything I could know about the techniques they use, I was satisfied when I finished my interrogation. I left the two hunters in the care of Violet and Violet's servants. I told her not to treat the two badly. After all, we could use them as a bargaining chip for veteran hunters. Although I doubt these veteran hunters will care about their recruits, they are still a good organization, right? So they should keep up appearances. I think good and evil are subjective. If I do good for one person and at the same time I harm another person, even if I don't know I did it, for the person I harmed I will be considered evil, and for the person I helped, I'll be considered good. In the end, there is no good and bad. What exists are just choices and the consequences of your choices. A.S. Newton said in the past, for every action you make a reaction is created at the same time. That thought can be included in real life too and not just in physics. Before leaving the mansion, I told Violet to bring more clothes than usual because I would use that excuse at home. After all, I know my mom. I'm sure she'll ask why Violet didn't come home. Violet agreed with me and said she would. Returning home, I meet my parents. Where's Violet? My mom asked me. She was watching a movie while my dad was washing the dishes. Apparently, they bought food. In our house there's no such nonsense about the man sitting on the couch and the woman washing dishes. We divide our tasks into weekdays. It seems like today is my father's day to wash the dishes. She's a little busy. She lives in a mansion, so she has a lot of clothes to bring. I spoke in a neutral tone. You really hit the jackpot. You got a rich, beautiful, and loving wife. I have nothing more to teach you. As a mother, I'm proud. As expected of me, my mother commented proudly of me as a small tear fell from her face. She looked like an ancient master who taught their disciple everything they learned and was proud of their disciple. Mother. I was speechless as I looked at my mother. I mean, if it were up to your father, you would work as a bricklayer and you would whistle to women passing by on the street. You would be a caveman. I don't want my son to be like that. She spoke with a serious face as if she were teaching me something important. Oof. I saw my dad react like a knife had gone into his chest. Woman, why did you agree to date me back then if I was a caveman? My dad practically yelled as he stopped washing the dishes. My mom turns her face and looks at my dad, and responds with the same honesty she always has, well, you were tall, muscular, and knew how to treat a woman well. And your dragon warrior was a great warrior too. Anna. Leon. That the two looked like two teenagers in love. Okay, stop, I don't want to hear about that, I said while making a stop gesture. I was used to this casual exchange from my parents, but even though I am used to it, I don't want to see it. Suddenly, Kaguya walks through the door of the house and, when she closes the door, she calls my parents' attention. Mr. Leon, and Mistress Anna, I came back, sorry for the delay. Oh, Kaguya, right? Where were you? I haven't seen you all morning. My mom asked. I was solving some problems that Lady Violet forgot to deal with, Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone. Oh, good job. As expected of a professional maid, you guys are different. My mom praised her honestly. It seems that my mother's compliment seemed to work because Kaguya flashed a small satisfied smile and spoke in her usual neutral tone as she seemed to puff out her chest. This is easy for me. Omo. Get in the house, let's talk. My mom spoke with a big smile as she invited Kaguya to her side. Unfortunately, I can't do that right now, I'm working, Kaguya said as she grabs my arms. I'm a little surprised by Kaguya's attitude. Oh. My mother displays a meaningful smile. I look at her smile and immediately understand what she's thinking. Are you after another girl? What if Violet finds out about this? Be careful, I won't meddle in your personal life, but I don't want a child killed by their wife. How do I know she specifically said that? Well, in the past, she and I talked a lot about the future and, she said those exact words. She said she wouldn't meddle in my personal life. After all, I would be an adult in the future. She just didn't. She wanted the tragedy she saw in an anime to be repeated with her womanizing son. I felt a lot of damage that day when she said the word womanizing. At the time I couldn't even catch a fly, let alone catch a woman. Lord Victor, we have a problem, Kaguya spoke in a low voice as she looked at me with a serious expression. Seeing Kaguya's serious expression, I understand that something serious has happened and Kaguya needs me for something. After all, she's a serious maid, and she wouldn't make a joke about a problem. I nod my head indicating that I understand, and I tell my parents, I'll work something out with Kaguya, I'll be back soon. Take care, my mom spoke as she waved at me, but suddenly she makes an expression like she remembers something and she yells, Victor. You should go get Zach from the vet, he must be missing you. Oh. I had completely forgotten about my cat. I smack my hand over my head. Now that I've stopped to think about it, I've been missing stroking that fluffy fur. Deciding that I would pick up Zach from the vet later, I went out with Kaguya. When Victor left his house with Kaguya, they entered a secret passage that was close to a wall, and soon they slowly descended into the basement of the house. Do you think Victor is doing things with Kaguya? Leon asked curiously when he saw the house door close. I doubt it. I know my son, I raised him to be a loyal man. He won't run after another woman if he's married to a woman as beautiful as Violet. Something probably happened. Anna, Victor's mother, spoke with an unconcerned expression. I see, Leon said, and then continued washing the dishes. Wait, they're married, right? But why was there no wedding ceremony? He spoke as he washed the dishes, but when he realized what he was saying, he looked at Anna. Suddenly Anna looks like she's been struck by lightning. She freezes and looks at Leon with shining eyes. It was like she had something interesting to do. Leon, seeing this, just thought, oh shit, I'm sorry, son. I didn't know maid work included kidnapping beautiful women. Is that a new kind of fetish? I asked Kaguya, who ignored what I said while looking at the two blonde women who were sleeping in two separate beds. The first blonde woman was wearing a modern maid dress that looked like Kaguya's. And the other woman? She was beautiful. Unlike Violet, she had short blonde hair that reached her neck, very pale skin, thick thighs, and big breasts. She was wearing a long-sleeved black silk shirt with a two-button collar that goes to the middle of the neck. Between her breasts there was a white square-shaped tile embroidered on the edges in gold. It looks very tight and, since it is silk, and you could completely see her round breasts and her very slim waist. What was even more surprising was the white sailor-like coat with a bow tie tied just above her breasts. just leaving the white coat over her shoulder without actually wearing it. She wore a white skirt with 2 belts, one at the waist and one falling more diagonally on the right side. It was cut like those cheongsam dresses and showed off a sexy black garter belt that covered her long, perfect legs. I noticed she was also wearing white 2-inch high heels, but the heels were leaning against the side of the bed. This woman was very attractive. I feel my vision changing, and I look at her and feel the same thing as when I saw Violet for the first time. It was an inexplicable attraction. It was like I needed to suck her blood. Ugh. I put a hand to my throat and walk away quickly, looking at my reaction to seeing the blonde woman for a long time. Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone. You're reacting to her, huh? Who is she? I asked as I held my heart. I thought I had quenched my bloodlust with Violet, but why was I reacting so strongly? Kaguya doesn't answer me. She looks at the woman who's been lying in bed for a long time, and I see her hesitate as if she's making an important decision. In the end, she seems to make up her mind, then looks at me and speaks in a serious tone of voice. She's your wife, huh? I look at Kaguya in shock with my mouth agape. Chapter 18, Sasha Fulger. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. She is your wife. Kaguya repeated what she said in the same tone of voice. That I heard, I said in a surprised tone. I took a deep breath and asked in a neutral tone. What I meant was, what do you mean she's my wife? Well, she is your wife. She spoke with a confused face. Kaguya, I stared at her with a look telling her to explain what was going on. Kaguya sighed. Normally, as a servant of Lady Violet, I shouldn't be telling you this information, but... She bit her lip and it looked like she was having some difficulty speaking. I start to think of Kaguya's personality. She is a loyal maid who claims to want to be the perfect maid, a maid who does everything for her master's sake. Oh, I get it, she's thinking she's committing a betrayal by talking about something Violet probably forbade. I move closer to her as I try to ignore the temptation to bite the blonde woman's neck who was lying asleep on the bed. I swallowed hard and bit my lip. I patted Kaguya's head and said, don't worry, just tell me what happened. If Violet says something, you have my support. When I started stroking Kaguya's head, I felt her body tremble a little, and then she shows a small smile on her face. She seems happy about something, then she says, I will trust Lord Victor. She spoke in a neutral tone while keeping the smile on her face. Realizing she was going to tell me what's going on, I stop stroking her head. I feel her shiver a little, and suddenly Kaguya's hand moves at inhuman speed and takes my hand and places it on her head again. She then lifted her face and looked into my red eyes with a blank look. Question marks started appearing around me. I didn't understand what was going on, but when I looked where she was holding my hand, I understood something. She wanted me to stroke her head. Soon, I start stroking her head again and she displays a satisfied smile. I can't help shaking my head to myself when I see this maid's attitude. She claims to be a perfect and serious maid, but she is surprisingly cute sometimes. Somehow, seeing Kaguya's expression, I managed to calm down. My bloodlust was still screaming like crazy, but now it was on a more manageable scale. Explain what happened, I told Kaguya. Kaguya nods and says, this woman's name is Sasha. Sasha Fulger, just like Lady Violet. She is your wife. Soon she starts telling me all the events that Sasha suffered. I listened to everything with a neutral expression as I stroked Kaguya's head. My emotions fluctuated sometimes. When I heard that Sasha was happy, I was happy, but when I heard that Sasha was almost captured by the hunters, I felt a wave of intense anger in my chest. These emotions were foreign to me. I wondered how I could feel such strong emotions from a woman I just met, but stopping to think. The same thing happened with Violet. I always felt very intense emotions when involving Violet. I look at the blonde maid with murderous intent, but soon I shake my head several times and start breathing heavily in an attempt to calm myself again. This wasn't my revenge, this was Sasha's revenge. Okay, let's gather the important information. Sasha, who is Violet's childhood friend, was marked as my wife by the ritual that happened a few days ago. She came home and a trap set by the church hunters was waiting for her. On that day she lost Julia, a maid who was like a mother to Sasha. According to Kaguya, when she went to visit Sasha she realized she was suffering from bloodlust, and she was very weak from fighting the hunters. Realizing that Sasha might make rash decisions because of her desire for revenge, Kaguya kidnapped Sasha and brought her to me. I understand the general situation. I look at Kaguya, who is my other wife. Kaguya bites her lip, but she soon sighs again and says, Ruby. Ruby Scarlett, she's Lady Violet's other childhood friend. Ruby. Ruby. Isn't she the most popular student in med school? Let me remember, red hair, green eyes, and with an always listless expression on her face. She was called a genius because she always came first in everything she did. She was very popular with the college men. She was called the untouchable red flower. According to the rumors, in the past she was proposed to by several men, but they were all turned down, and some more insistent men suddenly disappeared from the face of the earth. For some reason an irritating feeling grew in me when I realized that several men were after her. It was like an obsessive desire. Those fuckers dash. Lord Victor. Suddenly I hear Kaguya's voice. I wake up from my thoughts and look at Kaguya, realizing that I was falling into the seas of emotions again. I smile a little and say, thank you, Kaguya. I stroke her head harder. I see she was breathing more erratically, and she had a small smile on her face. She wasn't breathing like Violet, it was something quieter. Nice job, Kaguya. I felt Kaguya's whole body tremble as I said those words, and soon she turns her face away and is looking at the wall as if she found something interesting. Kaguya deserved those words. If she hadn't acted then, Sasha probably would have done something dangerous to herself. Ugh. What happened to me? Suddenly, I hear someone's voice waking up. I look straight ahead and see that Sasha has woken up. Sasha looks around and doesn't seem to recognize the place she woke up. Suddenly she starts talking in an irritated tone. That maid. She kidnapped me. She was going to continue to say something, but when she noticed my presence she stopped talking and focused all her attention on me. Sasha's sapphire blue eyes begin to change to blood red. She inhales a large amount of air and slowly begins to release the air that was in her lungs. When she let out the air she breathed in, I could see that the air was much hotter than usual. It even formed a small hot mist when it came out of her mouth. Her face started to turn red, and she started breathing erratically while keeping her red eyes fixed on me. I wasn't in any better shape. My body was hot, my throat was dry, my whole body screamed at me to stop holding back and attack that woman and feast on her blood. Ugh. Lord Victor, you're hurting me. Kaguya spoke in a neutral voice. When Sasha and I heard Kaguya's voice, we both woke up from our stupor. I looked down and realized I was squeezing Kaguya too hard. I also noticed that Kaguya lied by saying she was hurt. I think she told me and Sasha that to wake up from our world. Sasha, right? I said, stuttering a little. Why yes, I'm Sasha. She suddenly spoke out loud as she raised her hand like she was in elementary school and the teacher had asked her something. Realizing what she had just done, she turns her face to the side and ignores me. I noticed that her whole face was glowing red, and seeing that expression of hers, something seems to pierce my heart and I can't help commenting in an honest tone. Beautiful. That I hear a poof sound, and I see little yellow lightning flashing from Sasha's head, and her face is redder than before. Stop. Don't look at me. She screamed when she spoke the last sentence. Lady Sasha, please calm down, Kaguya said when she willingly walked away from me and approached Sasha. Kaguya, why did you bring me here? I'm not prepared mentally, physically, or emotionally to talk to him right now. She practically screamed with a face red with embarrassment. Kaguya ignores what Sasha said, and says, Lady Sasha, you were planning some silly plan like using this maid as bait and trying to capture the man who attacked you, right? Oh. That was also a possibility. Sasha opens her eyes wide. She looked at Kaguya with a face that said, how do you know that? Looks like Kaguya nailed her guess. Soon her face twists into hate. Yes. So is this what you brought me here for? To stop me from taking my revenge? She spoke in a cold tone. Wrong, I brought Lady Sasha here to strengthen herself. Kaguya spoke as she pointed her finger at me. Sasha puts on a confused face, then she looks at me. I notice her face turning a little red, but she seems to control her expression now. Lady Violet is getting stronger. Every time Lady Violet drinks Victor's blood, she is slowly getting stronger. She's probably stronger than Lady Sasha and Lady Ruby now. Kaguya spoke in a suggestive tone. Do you understand? Violet is a noble vampire at just 21 years old, practically a newborn, and she's getting stronger. She continued to speak in the same suggestive tone. How is this possible? Vampires only get stronger the older they are, or if they train their skills to the fullest, just like Lady Scathack. Sasha spoke with a shocked face as she mentioned a woman I didn't know. Suddenly Kagaya's face changes to an expression of disdain, and she sighs, sigh. Woman, are you deaf? I'm saying Violet is getting stronger by drinking Victor's blood. Sasha and I looked at Kagaya in shock, but then, as if it were all a lie, she came back with her stoic expression and spoke in a suggestive tone. Does Lady Sasha understand what to do? Huh? Sasha was so surprised by Kagaya's sudden change of expression that she didn't hear anything. TSK, Kagaya clicked her tongue in annoyance. Suddenly Kagaya's body turns to darkness and she disappears into the ground, then appears beside Sasha. She grabs Sasha by the arms and throws her towards me. Instinctively, I opened my arms and Sasha fell into my arms. Kaya! What are you doing? Sasha yelled as she glared at Kagaya. Kaya! That was a cute scream. I can't help but comment as I hold Sasha's waist. She was my height, and she smelled really good. I can't help but smell her neck. Kagaya bows in a gesture of respect and says, enjoy some time with your husband, Lady Sasha. Soon, she turns and walks towards the bedroom exit, and when she leaves the bedroom, she closes the door. Huh? She looked at Kagaya with an incredulous face, but she didn't have time to do much when she suddenly felt me sniffing her neck and holding her waist. I couldn't help it. When she got close to me, I couldn't hold out longer. She turns quickly and looks at me, and when our red eyes meet we couldn't control ourselves anymore. I see Sasha's teeth change and become sharper. She suddenly pushes me into the wall and tries to bite me, but I don't let her. I throw her to the ground and hold her arms while she wraps her legs around my waist and keeps staring at me with bloodlust. I let go of her arms and she wraps her arms around my neck. I put my face to her neck, and then I bite her. I also feel her bite my collarbone and start sucking my blood. Suddenly an explosion of emotions and feelings are directed at me, and, just like Violet, her blood was delicious. If Violet's blood was like food made by the most renowned chef in the world, I think Sasha's blood tastes the most natural. It was like I was living on an island in the middle of nowhere, and the boss of that island was a beast that had the most delicious meat in the world. It was a wild taste, it was an addictive taste. As I drank Sasha's blood I could feel a weakened bond in my body start to get stronger. I could now feel and understand Sasha's whole existence, her feelings, her thoughts. I could understand them just as I understood Violet. I understood what kind of woman Sasha is. Suddenly my world turns red. I realize it's the same as Violet, but unlike Violet, I could look around. This place looked like the supermarket I went to in the past when my mom asked me to buy food. Are you sure? Sasha asked as she looked at me who was lying down. I had a huge wound on my arm like I was being attacked by the claws of a wild animal. Yes, I will make him my darling. Violet spoke with a loving smile. Sasha suddenly looks away and I follow her gaze. Soon I see Ruby, a woman with long red hair, a voluptuous body, and green eyes. What do you think about this? No matter what I think, Violet won't change her mind. We should support her. Besides, I already brought the materials for the ritual. Ruby spoke in a neutral tone as she pointed to a black bag that seemed to be full of various items. Sasha nods her head in agreement with Ruby's words, then she looks at me, and says with a bit of pity, well, you'd better live like a vampire than become a being who stinks of wet dog. Soon the vision changes and I'm in the same building that I was transformed in. Everything happens the same as what I saw in Violet's vision, but now I see what happened after I bit Violet. I looked at Ruby and disappeared. Ruby tried to react and defend herself, but it seems like I was faster. I appear in front of Ruby and pull her into a hug, then I bite her neck. Ah, Ruby moaned as she wrapped her arms around my neck. Then I see Ruby's gaze turn into a hot and dangerous look. She smiles with a smile full of sharp teeth and bites me. No! Violet yelled in a crazy voice. Violet suddenly looks at Sasha, her eyes glowing red. Run away from here now. Sasha! Run! Now, Violet uses her speed and approaches me. Appearing beside me, she tries to separate me from Ruby, but it seems I was stronger and she couldn't separate me from Ruby. Fuck. Sasha, who was looking at Ruby and me with shocked eyes, looks at Violet, who was trying to separate me from Ruby with a confused face. Huh? I could see she was genuinely confused. Sasha, run. Now. Violet ordered this time as the atmosphere around her grew heavier and more dangerous. Lightning started to appear around Sasha and she tried to run away, but, suddenly, I disappear and appear behind Sasha. I grab her from behind and bite her neck. Ah! Sasha moans while holding my head. Suddenly Sasha's eyes turn blood red. I stop biting Sasha and she turns to me with a distorted smile showing her sharp teeth. She licks my neck with a sensual gesture to clean the blood, and then bit me. I also bite her while hugging her tightly. Bitches! Violet screamed in rage as the atmosphere around her started to heat up. She was very angry, her face was distorted in rage, and she was biting her lip in frustration. With a gesture of her hand, Violet creates several fireballs around it. Die! Bitches! That I stop biting Sasha, and look at Violet as I open my mouth to say something. I can't figure out what it is because the world around me has started to fall apart. Chapter 19, Sasha Fulger 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. I wake up from the memories Sasha's blood bestowed on me and stop drinking her blood. When I realize my bloodlust has weakened, I grab Sasha around the waist and lift her up. Since she was holding me with her legs I could lift her easily, so I sat down on the floor and placed Sasha on my lap. I start stroking Sasha's golden hair, patiently waiting for her to be satisfied. She seemed to be quite weak, and one thing I noticed is that no matter how much Sasha sucks my blood, I don't run out of blood or get tired. I think this is because of the vampire regeneration. I noticed that when I started stroking Sasha's hair she started sucking my blood more slowly, and she also adjusted her position to sit more comfortably. A few minutes pass and Sasha stops drinking my blood. She licks my neck a little to clean up the remaining blood, leans back, then looks at me while keeping her arms around my neck. Seeing that some blood was still on her mouth, I approach her face gently. Sasha closes her eyes and accepts my advances as I start to lick her mouth, and slowly. I kiss her. I feel her body tremble a little, but she accepts my kiss and opens her mouth. Soon our tongues dance in each other's mouths for a few seconds, and then I pull away from her. She lets out warm air from her mouth as she looks at me with her red eyes. Her breathing was erratic and she seemed to be out of breath as she looked at me. Seeing her blonde hair as I looked into her eyes, I couldn't help but think, she is so beautiful. Suddenly, I pull her head to my chest and start stroking her head. She seemed to hold back a moan of satisfaction. I couldn't help but laugh and let out a relieved breath. I needed to calm down. Do you know that? We just met. Sasha shivered slightly when she heard my words and I noticed her cheeks starting to get a little red. She looked really pretty. I picked up her hair that fell in her face and put it behind her ear. I am not usually like that. It's because of the ritual, yes. This is because of the ritual and because I was thirsty. She sat up and spoke to me with a serious face. Her expression would be convincing if her face weren't so red. I flashed a small smile and I pulled her head to my chest again, then continued to pet her. A few minutes passed and we were just enjoying each other's presence. I didn't have to say anything. After all, just like me, she knew everything from my blood. Even though we just meet each other now, we seem to have known each other for a long time. Sigh. Sasha sighed a little, then she pulled away from me and slowly straightened her position. Then she lay down with her head in my lap and looked up at me with her blood-red eyes. When I saw this scene I had a sense of déjà vu. I remember doing the same thing with Violet, I thought, although with Violet, I was lying on her lap. You know. Vampires bond really fast, Sasha said. Oh. I got curious and soon I started stroking Sasha's hair again. In our society, when a female vampire takes an interest in a male vampire the woman will chase the male trying to tie him up in marriage. It's the same with a male vampire who likes a female vampire, Sasha said. A stalker society, huh? I couldn't help but think. Then she continues, the same thing happened to my mother. She was the heiress of the Fulger family at the time. One fine day she saw my father, a blonde vampire with blue eyes, and she became obsessed with him. The next day she kidnapped him and married him. Sasha spoke with a neutral face as she closes her eyes and enjoys my caresses. My father's family had a much lower status than my mother, and vampires by nature are greedy. Because of that, my father didn't complain much when he was kidnapped. Jesus Christ. Wait, isn't this situation somehow familiar? I couldn't help but think to myself. Fortunately my father was a noble vampire who had a stamina trait far above normal, and when the two of them had a child, I was born. I got my mother's lightning bolt and my father's stamina. Because of that, I can use my skills easily. If I only had my mother's lightning ability every time I used that power, I would be extremely debilitated. After all, the technique of my clan that uses lightning requires the vampire to have a strong body. That I didn't understand why she was telling me this, but I decided to listen in silence. She seemed to be venting her emotions. Just because I was born with better lightning resistance, my mom and dad treated me like a fun object to quench their boredom. They did a lot of experiments for me to improve lightning control. Sasha spoke as if telling the story of someone else. She didn't seem to mind the story, but I could tell by her tone of voice that she's sad. I went through a lot of training. They put me in an electric chair and they tested my resistance to electricity. They threw me under the sea and asked me to use lightning skills to see if I would come out alive. They used the excuse of training to experiment on me to satiate their boredom. After all, I, as a noble vampire, have a much higher regeneration than normal. I went through a lot of training, and I almost died several times. She spoke the last phrase with a little pain. But I held on until these two lost interest in me, and they were bored again. Suddenly, a wave of emotions started to flood my heart. These emotions weren't mine. I bit my lip, and I tried not to demonstrate anything. And that was when I got my personal maid. She bit her lip and put her arm over her eyes and said in a shaky voice, "Julia." She was like a mother to me. Whenever I came home falling apart and almost dead, she would cure me and treat me like a real daughter. I saw drops of blood falling from Sasha's face. I feel these drops of blood falling on my thigh, but I didn't care. I bit my lip and tried to remain neutral. I was feeling my heart sink and I felt like crying. It was a strange feeling. I seemed to be feeling all her emotions. As she taught me everything I know today: etiquette, education, the rules of the noble world, arithmetic, geography, vampire history. She even played with me using games created by humans. I really enjoyed playing chess with her. She was a mother to me, a mother like my real mother never was. I miss her. I felt all the pain and sadness of Sasha when she spoke those words. Her body was visibly shaking and she looked very fragile. I miss her. I miss my mom. I miss playing with her. I miss talking to her. She bites her lip and can't speak anymore. I feel her body shaking. Now, she didn't look like a dangerous vampire. She just looked like a child who lost her mother. I bit my lip as hard as I could and I felt the blood pouring from my mouth, but I ignored it. I did my best to keep a neutral expression as I gently stroked Sasha's hair. "You can cry, Sasha," I said as gently as possible. I just wanted to lighten her burden a little. She turned her face to the left and hid her face in my lap as she started to cry silently. Not wanting her to hide what she's feeling, I lift her up and put her in my lap, then I hold her. I place her head on my chest and she hides her face as I feel the tears of blood wetting my shirt. I ignored it and was trying to do my best to control my emotions. I was mad at Sasha's parents for what they did to her. I was sad that Sasha had lost someone who was like a mother to her. I was disgusted by Sasha's parents for using their daughter as an object to quench their boredom. I was sorry for Sasha for having to deal with everything that happened to her. And I had immense respect for Julia and everything she did for Sasha. I had a lot of emotions running through my heart and I wasn't managing to deal with all of those emotions at the same time. For the first time, I understood the difficulty of controlling a vampire's amplified emotions. I could feel everything multiplied by 500x, and that wasn't an easy task. I bit my lip with my sharp teeth. I felt blood pouring from my mouth and the pain I was causing myself, but I didn't care. I hugged Sasha gently as I stroked her head. I didn't want to say anything like, "It's all right." I didn't want to be a hypocrite with her. And because of that, I just decided to act as a support for her. Now, she just needs someone to vent her emotions. Kagaya appears at the door and, seeing me hugging Sasha, she was going to open her mouth, but I just said, "Leave." My voice came out more demonic than I intended. Kaguya's eyebrows quivered for a moment, but soon she nods her head and leaves the room. I probably don't have a good expression right now. Kaguya POV. Some time passed, and I was going back to the room I left Lord Victor in with Lady Sasha. When I reached the front of the room, I opened the door, and just as my eyes meet Lord Victor's red eyes, I feel my whole body paralyze. Lord Victor's face was very cold and I felt my instinct screaming from danger. I also noticed that he was biting his mouth very hard and he was hugging Sasha very protectively. Leave. Hearing Lord Victor's order, I felt my whole body demanding as if I had to obey. It was like a primordial urge telling me that I shouldn't deny this order because, if I ignored it, something really bad would happen. Lord's order Victor was absolute. If he ordered me to do something, I must obey. I nod in agreement, and immediately I leave the room. The moment I'm away from the room, I stop walking and regain my consciousness. What happened? I couldn't help but ask aloud in shock as I looked towards the direction of the room where Lord Victor was. A few minutes pass and Sasha stops crying. She looks at me with the face of a person who has just cried a lot. I'm sorry. Before Sasha can say any nonsense, I put my finger to her mouth in a silent gesture. Shoo. Everything is fine. Everything is fine, okay? Sasha nods her head and I bring my hand to her face. When she realizes my hand is on her face she puts her head in my hand. I laughed a little, and slowly started to wipe the bloody tears from her face. Weird, why do I feel so safe with you? She asked in a confused voice as she looked into my eyes. I could see her eyes had turned sapphire blue. I'm just built different, I said with a small smile. She laughed a little when she saw my unintentional joke, but I also noticed that her emotions calmed down a little when she laughed. She seemed to be fine. I could feel her heart was serene, but I also felt immense anger hidden by all that serenity. Violet and I will help with your revenge, I said in a gentle tone. She looks at me with a serious face. I know, I said with a small smile. Huh? She made an expression showing she didn't understand. You want to avenge your mother alone, right? You would probably tell me not to meddle in your affairs. I chuckled a little when I saw her shocked expression. How? How do I know this? It's simple, our connection told me. I spoke while laughing. But that's not the way the connection works. It was just supposed to share the couple's location like a GPS. She practically screamed. Mine works different, I said laughing. You. I know I'm not normal, but Violet knew that from the beginning, right? I said with the same smile. Sasha pouted. Stop, please stop interrupting me. She looked so adorable now. Impossible, I replied. Wah. Your troubled expression is too beautiful for me to stop doing that. Sasha turned her face away and tried to hide her embarrassed expression. I stroke her head, but suddenly, I get up off the floor while holding her like a princess. Then I carry her to the bed and leave her there. Natalia, I called the blonde maid. Yes, Lord Victor. Natalia appears from a secret passage. Make Sasha's accommodations, she'll live with us from now on. Impossible, we don't have enough space, Natalia was going to continue, but I interrupted. I wanted Sasha around. Someone has to keep an eye on her, or she'll screw up. The male vampires who are Violet's servants are supposed to stay in her mansion, or around my house. As long as Sasha lives with us, I only want the female vampires around her. I remember there is a building for sale a block away. Use Violet's money and buy that building. That I don't want men living just a room away from Sasha. What if she's changing clothes and some of them see? Well, I know she'll probably kill them, and so would I. But it's better to avoid casualties. I sigh a little internally. I don't like to use my wife Violet's money. After all, that money isn't mine, but that's just my pride talking. I think I should start the plan I had before. I need to make money. I'll start stealing, but, in the future, I'll make my money legally within the government's laws. After all, money makes money. I just have to use it smartly. In some situations pride is useless. I can easily ignore my pride if I can resolve a situation for my wives. If my pride is holding me back, I just have to throw my pride away. My pride is worthless if it means my wife's well-being. I just don't ignore my pride when the situation is something like Luan. He's my enemy. If he is my enemy, I must fight him. I don't throw this pride away. And I also don't let anyone step on my pride. My enemy is mine alone. I want to see his expression of despair. I want to see him slowly breaking down as I step on them. This pride I don't give up. That's possible. The building is much cheaper than the defenses made by the witch June. Natalia spoke with a slightly surprised expression. Hearing Natalia's words, I wake up from my stupor. I can't help but sigh internally. I lose control of my emotions too easily. Is it because I'm still evolving? Normally, I don't let this sadistic side of me go. I stop thinking about bullshit and I say. Let Violet know that Sasha is moving in with us. I will also need to talk with my wife. She will be very angry. Tell her to meet me. I think she won't do that. Natalia spoke with uncertainty. Oh, she will, I say with a small smile, then continue as I walk towards the exit of the room. My wife is a jealous woman, and obsessed with me. She always puts my safety first and forgets of her own safety. She has the best qualities of a woman. Soon I continued, she is also a loving person, she is a kind woman, and she is very fond of Sasha who is her childhood friend, but her jealousy and obsession for me cloud her judgment. Lord Victor, I thought you didn't know about Lady Violet's personality. Natalia spoke a little surprised. Oh, I know her personality after all. She has the same personality as me. I commented with a small smile that Natalia couldn't see. When Victor left the room, Sasha looked at Natalia and asked, what happened? Lord Victor is taking care of you. Natalia spoke in a neutral tone with a stoic expression, and she also thought internally. Upon contacting Sasha, Lord Victor let his real personality show a little. This took much longer than expected. Normally newborns show their true selves the moment they turn into vampires. I think Victor has great self-control and I'm a little curious what he's going to become when he can't hold back. Is he taking care of me? Sasha spoke with a strange expression, but soon after, she flashes a big, distorted smile. I see, he's taken care of me. She put both hands on her face to hide her expression like a teenager in love and started laughing in a low voice. She lays down on the bed and hides her face in the pillow. Natalia just looked at Sasha with a stoic expression. It was like she was used to seeing this kind of demonstration before. Her too, huh? Lady Violet's friends are very similar to her. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, currently up to 20, visit my Patreon. Patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 20, Childhood Friends. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. As I was walking towards the vet to pick up my beloved cat Zack, I was thinking about what happened a few minutes ago. I was still a little in shock to find that I have 2 more wives, but for some reason. I'm very happy, I mean. What man wouldn't want to have a harem? Violet is interesting, I love her personality and she is very affectionate with me. And, even though I've just met Sasha now, I feel she was really cute and I really like seeing the way she changes when she gets embarrassed, and Ruby. I haven't contacted her yet to get an opinion on her, but seeing her personality from the memories I got from Sasha, I think she must also have an interesting personality too. I also know that having 3 wives with exotic personalities can be a very stressful thing. After all, I'm pretty sure problems will arise over time, although I don't mind those problems. I think about how sad Sasha looked and can't help but clench my fist tightly. Seeing Sasha like that made me so angry, and at the same time baffled at myself. I only met her a few minutes ago and started liking her. That's impossible. But, when I remember the taste of her blood and the memories I got from drinking her blood, I can't help but feel close to her. I remember the same thing happening with Violet. The moment I drank Violet's blood, I understood who Violet was. It's a very difficult thing to explain that feeling, but I think vampire relationships work differently than humans. They are more aggressive with what they like and don't mind kidnapping the person they love to make them love them too. Although this is a very questionable attitude, but one thing I was sure of is that Violet, Sasha, Ruby, and I were connected by blood, and I mean it in the most literal sense possible. I thought about that moment when I could feel everything Sasha was feeling. I also knew her superficial thoughts for a moment. Sasha and Violet told me how the ritual of turning someone into a vampire worked, and from the memories I absorbed of Sasha and Violet, I can tell that something went wrong with the ritual. Violet said that my blood is special. No blood, the blood that caused me so much trouble and ironically gave me so many benefits when I became a vampire. I could be wrong, but I think my blood influenced the ritual somehow because, except for my blood, I'm not a special human, I'm just an ordinary human that can be found everywhere. Because of that thought, I decided that I need to learn more about the very ritual that made me what I am today, and only two beings know a lot about this ritual. The older vampires, and the witches. Witches seem to be impossible to learn from about this. I'm sure with her greedy attitude they will ask me for something valuable, so I think I'll have to ask the older vampires. Sup, Victor. I hear a voice talking to me, but I ignore it and keep walking while in deep thoughts. I was slowly getting used to people looking at me and whispering things like, "Hey, isn't his skin too pale? Is he a foreigner? He is very handsome, his blue eyes are beautiful." I'll be honest, these compliments boost my ego a little. After all, I've never received those compliments from other people, and getting those compliments from your mother isn't very trustworthy since, for the mother, the child is beautiful no matter what look is he born with. Although I felt good when my mother praised me, after all, she is very honest. If she thinks I'm beautiful, she'll say I'm beautiful, but if she thinks I'm ugly, she'll say I'm ugly as honestly as ever. Sometimes in the past, I received damage from my mom's honest words. I remember the day I wore a short green shirt and colorful pants and asked my mom if I looked good, and as always she was honest in saying, "You look like a clown who went to the circus to work and only wore the pants that were part of the uniform." Ugh, just remembering that I still suffer damage. Victor. I heard someone screaming really loud in my ear and, with my new vampire senses, it was like someone had put a speaker on full volume near my ear and had screamed my name. I quickly put a hand to my ear and looked at whoever did it angrily. Seeing that the man who did this to me was my childhood friend, I practically screamed. "You fucking idiot. Why did you do that? Bruh, I've been calling you since like 10 minutes ago and you weren't talking to me. Are you ignoring me?" He asked with his usual gentle smile, a man with spiky blonde hair and eyes like a green sapphire. He had an asymmetrical V-shaped face with a gentle smile and a body tone from sports. He was tall at 185 centimeters in height. He was my childhood friend Andrew Walter. It's been a while since I've seen this idiot. Wasn't he traveling with his mother or something? Thinking about the appearance of Andrew's mother, I can't help but shake my head several times to get the thought out of my head. Don't think of your friend's mother that way. Don't break the brother's code of conduct. The brother's code of conduct was something my friends and I created, and the code was simple: don't date your friend's ex-girlfriends, don't date your friend's mother or sister, and most importantly don't date your friend's current girlfriend. Why did we create this? Well, I'm fully aware that my mom is beautiful. I know that with her personality it's almost impossible for her to cheat on my dad, but it's good to guarantee, right? Andrew's mother is also a very beautiful woman, and my other friend Edward's sister was very beautiful too. So to prevent our friendship from falling apart because of reasons like dating a friend's mother or sister, we made this code. He starts looking at me with questioning eyes. He looks me up and down as if he's sizing me up, then he nods to himself as if he understands what happened. Did you take any kind of medicine those athletes use? What's the name again? He puts a hand to his chin as if he's thinking. Anabolics? I spoke while looking at him. Yes. That's right. Did you take that? Dude, don't do this. I know you were bothered with your body, but those meds only make your health worse. I'll tell your mother. He said with that last part sounding like a child who caught his friend doing something wrong and said he was going to tell their mother. I didn't take those. I practically screamed. It's okay, you can be honest with your friend. He spoke as he touched my shoulder with a look that would understand me. This man really makes me angry sometimes. I didn't take anything, this is just puberty. I used the same excuse I used for my mom. He looked at me like I was an idiot and said, bullshit. Of course, he wouldn't believe it. I also know this excuse is ridiculous. Puberty doesn't make a human grow taller, build toned muscle, and make you look the same as Captain America. Well, he's right. If puberty did that, the world would be full of people with superhuman physiques. Stop the bullshit and tell me the truth. Ugh. I think of an excuse to change the subject. Soon something comes to mind. I have a wife now. He looks at me with a shocked face. I don't believe you. He spoke in a dry, honest tone. I just looked at him with a dead stare. He knows I'm like my mother and I'm very honest with close people, living 21 years with a mother who speaks all she thinks can influence you in some way. It's a lie, right? Right. He looked at me with eyes begging that it was a lie. Dude, I'm married now, I said honestly. I do not believe it. After all, you're not wearing a wedding ring. What kind of man marries and doesn't wear a wedding ring? Are you already cheating on your wife? Bruh. Decide whether you believe me or not. Sigh, what a troubled man. It's true, I'm married, but things happened too quickly and I couldn't prepare a wedding ring or anything. Anyway, see ya. I said goodbye to him. Wait. I'll go with you. I stopped walking and looked at him. You don't even know where I'm going and you're going to follow me? What if I'm going somewhere illegal? That matters. If you're going somewhere illegal, I'll go with you. It must be fun there, right? I can't let you go alone in this place. Of course, when this is all over, I'll tell your mother. This man is a good friend, but for some reason, he's always ratting on me to my mother. Wait, I look at him dead-eyed. If you chase after my mom, I'll go after your mom too. Are you listening to me? I threatened him. He looks at me with a look like he doesn't believe what I said. Dude, you know I respect your mother a lot. After all, she helped me with a problem in the past involving my father and I remember the code. I wouldn't do something like that. Good, I think I'm satisfied. I know he wouldn't do that and I also know he respects my mother a lot since she was their family advocate when his worthless father wanted custody of Andrew. And I don't like married women either, they are troublesome, and I don't want to die from a stray bullet by a man I put a green hat on. He spoke with a gentle smile. You speak as if you have experience of your own. I looked at him suspiciously. I saw his smile break for a moment, then he said, I use my right to remain silent. We are in a free country. Dude, you're going to die one of these days, you better stop it. I gave a piece of advice. I know, I did this when I was 20 years old, I stopped doing this after what happened in the past. You are only 21 years old. Don't talk like this is in the distant past. I commented internally. Oh, well. Was she pretty? I couldn't help but ask curious as I started walking towards the vet. I also noticed he started following me. Yes, she was 32 years old, curvy body with dark black hair. She lived in New York and she was from a wealthy family, but her husband was a 66-year-old man. I think she was frustrated because her husband didn't satisfy her. Oh, the pattern, huh? Indeed, he spoke. Somehow, I feel sorry for the guy, I commented a little sympathetically. Oh. Own experience. Dude, you just got married and you're already taking your wife's greenhorn. Fuck off. He laughed out loud. I had a small smile too. Even though he's an annoying friend at times, he was a good friend. I've known him since I was a kid too. Well, I know with your personality, you would probably kill the guy and your wife if you found out you were being cheated on. He commented casually like it was no big deal. Hey, if that happens I won't stop it, but I won't let you kill yourself. After all, you're my friend. I think I should make a plan in case this happens in the future, maybe save money and buy a passport abroad. Maybe Brazil. I heard the politicians there are very corrupt, and in exchange for a few dollars, they would help you easily. He began to monologue out loud. Stop thinking nonsense, that will never happen, I said. After all, knowing Violet's personality, it's impossible for that to happen. Okay, but I'll still make the plan. All right. I accepted. I know it's no use talking anymore now, he's always like that. He's very careful. I think what happened in the past with his father affected him a lot. Looking at a small establishment in front of me, I nod to myself, this is the right place. When I entered the establishment, the first thing I saw was my cat, Zack, sitting at the counter and looking around in surveillance. I looked at my cat. He is furry black with a patch of fur around his chest and neck that is pinkish white in color. His head fur was also very spiky and he has short ears with less black and more dark brown fur. On the outside, his eyes were pool blue and had a black slit in the middle, typical of cats, but my cat's eyes were the cutest of all. Cough, okay, maybe not. But I think so it's true. He had a cat's whiskers, of course, nearly 10 strands of white on each side. Sup, Zack. How are you? I spoke out loud. The few customers who were picking up their pets looked at me with confused eyes, probably thinking I was crazy or something, but soon something happens that surprises everyone. Zack looks at me and raises his paw, meow. I nodded myself satisfied, and I smiled a little when I saw the customers look at the shocked cat. As always, your cat looks more like a dog than a cat. I don't like cats, but I wouldn't mind adopting him. Never. And cats are the best. They are silent, quiet, and affectionate, making them the best animal there is. Meow. Zack meowed at me like he was agreeing. See? Even he agrees. Whatever, Andrew doesn't even try to argue, so he turns his face and looks at a 21-year-old woman who was wearing a doctor's coat. Oh, Victor, Andrew. She spoke Andrew's name angrily. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, currently up to 21, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it.